Chapter 1587. Recently, the divinity became lively because Luli, who had been keeping a low profile, showed up again. Moreover, he appeared in several cities one after another and shouted in front of everyone in the city that he was ready to fight the craftsmen's sect head-on. According to Luli's words, the craftsmen's sect seemed to have sent Luo Yi to the mortal world to slaughter the mortals in the mortal world where Luli was. They were going to threaten Luli with his family and people and kill hundreds of millions of mortals. Luli was enraged. That was why he had declared in public that he would confront the craftsmen's sect head-on. He wanted the branch forces of the craftsmen's sect to leave the craftsmen's sect or they would become his targets. Moreover, he stated that he wanted the craftsmen's sect to hand over Luo Yi and make the craftsmen's sect master publicly apologize. Otherwise, he would continue to attack and would not stop until he was dead. This matter caused a huge reaction in the God realm. The first was that the craftsmen's sect actually sent people to attack the mortal world? He actually used such a despicable method? How could they resort to kidnapping Lu Li's family? And massacred hundreds of millions of civilians in the lower realm? The second reason was that this was the first time Lu Li had publicly declared war, even though Lu Li and the craftsmen's sect had always been enemies. In the past, it was the craftsmen's sect that was after Lu Li. Now, it was Lu Li who was declaring war against the craftsmen's sect. Third, Lu Li asked the master of the craftsmen's sect to apologize? This matter was too preposterous. If the sect lord of the divine craftsman sect apologized publicly, the reputation of the divine craftsman sect would be completely ruined. A single person, a young man who was not even 100 years old, had declared war on one of the four super forces. If it was someone else, perhaps everyone would think that he was a lunatic or an idiot. But Lu Li was different. The craftsman's sect had failed to kill Lu Li twice, and Lu Li had killed so many of them. All these proved Lu Li's strength and miraculous abilities. It was already a miracle that Lu Li was still alive. Everyone hoped that he could create more miracles. The four supreme forces had been dominating for too long. Many people also hoped that Lu Li could overturn the situation. Only when the situation was broken would everyone have a chance. Soon, Lu Li made another move. On the 8th day after he returned to the divinity, he appeared in the southernmost prefecture, the South Sea Prefecture. This prefecture was actually secretly controlled by the craftsmen's sect. Because this prefecture was close to the sea, there were many divine materials suitable for refining weapons. The Hall of Blood Edge was under Pan Yuqin's control. The Hall of Blood Edge knew many things in the divinity, like the back of their hands. Lu Li could get information from any branch of the Hall of Blood Edge. The craftsmen's sect had at least 100 subforces and prefectures in the divine realm that they secretly controlled, as well as all kinds of resources and treasures. Lu Li chose the closest one. He teleported to the South Sea City by himself and killed the city master and powerful warriors there. In total, he killed 6 super mighty warriors, dozens of mighty warriors, and over 400,000 warriors of the Fu Prefecture. At the same time, Lu Li looted the prefectural city of all the materials and destroyed an island filled with resources. It would take at least 100,000 years to recover. As the news spread, the entire divine realm was in an uproar. Lu Li had used 6 super mighty warriors, dozens of divinity warriors, and over 400,000 prefecture warriors to demonstrate his wrath, his determination, and his capability. The South Sea Prefecture's prefecture lord, Chun Qirong, was famous in the immortal realm. He was ranked 140th on the god ranking list, and he wasn't too old either. He was an expert who had a high chance of becoming a paragon in the immortal realm. The new list had not come out yet. Even if it did, Lu Li wouldn't be on it. That being said, many people in the divinity had made a ranking for Lu Li, 101 and 1. There was another ranking, number 1 on the list. He was even more famous than Lu Ling. In other words, Many people believed that Luli was the most powerful warrior in the divinity below the level of supreme warriors, and that he could defeat all the super mighty warriors in the divinity. A young man less than 100 years old had become the most powerful warrior below the level of supreme warriors in the divinity. Many old warriors felt ashamed, and they were not convinced at the same time. If it were not for the fact that Luli had ascended to the divinity, many people would have wondered if Luli was trained by some super force. Throughout history, there were warriors who had reached this level before they were 100 years old, but they were few in number. That being said, those who had reached this level would eventually become famous supreme warriors in the divinity as long as they did not die. Holy Princess of the Palace of Snow Mountain grew restless as the story about Luli spread out. Recently, she didn't even dare to cultivate, fearing that she might explode due to cultivation deviation. Lu Shi-er's family had been treating Pavilion of Misty Drizzle better recently because he was Luli's friend. It was unlikely that Luli could overturn the craftsman's sect. But there was always a chance. On the off chance that Luli could make a meteoric rise, the Pavilion of Misty Drizzle would benefit from the relationship between Lu Shi-er and Luli. Lu Shi-er was on cloud 9 every day, not only because of Luli, but also because Lu Shi-er had hooked up with a lady that he had been eyeing for a long time. That lady threw herself into Lu Shi-er's arms when she heard that Lu Shi-er and Luli were friends. At the peak of a mountain in the middle of the divinity was something special. From the outside there seemed to be nothing on the mountain. There were even fluctuations of inhibition formations. However, once someone approached the mountain, they would be lost in it. In the end, they would walk around for a while and walk out. There were many stone forts at the peak of the mountain. If one could see it, there must be tens of thousands of stone forts with hundreds of thousands of people living in them. At the moment, in a stone fort at the back, a young man was reading a letter carefully. His eyes were filled with excitement. After several readings, he clenched his fists and said, "Boss, you are amazing. You are amazing. It is a pity that I have not reached the level of a master craftsman in forging artifacts, and I am not a super mighty warrior in the divinity. Otherwise, I would be able to leave the mountain." "Bossly." The young man turned around and looked to the south. "You must live on. You must wait for me. Qian Huanhan is not as capable as you. But if I can follow you, overthrow the craftsman's sect, and build a world with you, my life will be worth it." "Bastard!" Qian Huanhan had just finished his words when someone scolded him. Then, a gray-robed old man appeared in front of Qian Huanhan. Qian Huanhan pulled a long face. Still, he bowed and said, "Third Grandpa." "Qian Huanhan." The gray-robed old man glared at Qian Huanhan coldly. "Do not even think about overturning the craftsman's sect. You know the Slayer, right? He was such a famous warrior. Do you really think he died in a dangerous place? He was killed by the Spacetime Office. It is not just him. There have been many talents in history. Many of them even made it to the top 10 of the list. It is okay for them to be enemies with the Four Forces. But if they hurt the foundation of the Four Forces, when the Four Forces show their trump cards, no one in the divinity will be able to stop them. Even if you become the number 1 on the list, you will die." "What?" Qian Huanhan's face changed. He said in disbelief, "Even the number 1 on the god list cannot destroy the Four Forces? How is that possible?" Kiki. Chapter 1588. The Craftsman's Sect was calm. The Master of Craftsman's Sect had no intention of shouting. But Patriarch Kwang was called back to the city of Craftsman's Sect. It was said that he stayed at the back hall for several hours. When he came out, he looked awful. Then, Patriarch Kwang left the city of Craftsman's Sect. But this time, he went with another patriarch, an old warrior who had not been around for a long time. It was said that this man was a patriarch of the Hall of Combat of the Craftsman's Sect several generations ago. He had made great contributions and was extremely powerful. Thousands of years ago, he was ranked top 30 on the list. Later on, he had been cultivating in seclusion, so the list did not list him. That was because the list was not comprehensive enough. There were some powerful warriors from hidden forces who did not want to be known by the outside world. Therefore, they would inform the Cabinet of Mystery and not list them. Many people believed that there were at least hundreds of supreme warriors in the divinity and tens of thousands of super mighty warriors. It was just that many of them were not listed on the list. The appearance of the old warrior indicated that the Master of Craftsmen's sect did not trust Patriarch Kwang and Patriarch Bao. It also indicated that the Master of Craftsmen's sect was determined to kill Luli. Master, please calm down. It is not worth it to hurt your health because of a nobody. In the Infinite Palace to the north of the city of craftsmen, Luo Huang came in with a cup of tea and massaged the master's shoulders. The master's elegant face put on a smile. Huang, you are lying to make me happy. If Luli is a nobody, then there are few big shots in the divinity. Luli is the second Slayer. But back then, the Slayer challenged the Space-Time Office and Luli challenged the Craftsman's sect. I heard that Luli has learned the Slayer's fundamental principle. His character is similar to the Slayer's. They are both unyielding. Yes. Luo Huang nodded. Luli has learned the Slayer's fundamental principle. His character is similar as well. Just like the Slayer, he would rather break than bend. He will become stronger when he meets strong opponents. Such a pity. The sect master suddenly turned his head to look at Luo Huang's exquisite face and sighed. Your grandfather made the wrong decision back then. He didn't fall in love with my Luo Huang girl. If he can become your son-in-law, the craftsman's sect will be able to gain another great help. Sect master, don't joke around with Luo Huang. Luo Huang blushed. She remembered the time when she was pushed into the water by Luli. She blushed even more. She sighed in her heart, feeling that it was a pity. There was no doubt that Luli was a good son-in-law, not only in terms of talent, looks and temperament, but also his spirit. How many people in the entire immortal world had such lofty sentiments, such courage, and such boldness to go against one of the four transcendent god forces all by himself? Beautiful women were scarce resources. Beautiful women were usually pursued by many people. After seeing many young elites, their standards would be very high. Very few people could catch their attention, and even fewer could move their hearts. Lu Li's spirit, his courage, and his legendary experience could easily win the hearts of women. However, Luo Huang knew very well that she and Lu Li were not destined to be together in this lifetime, unless she had the courage to leave the craftsman's sect or even go against them. However, her grandfather and family were here, and the sect master of the immortal craftsman sect was her foster grandmother. How could she help outsiders deal with her own family? Furthermore, as a matter of fact, Lu Li's fate was sealed the moment he went against the craftsman's sect. Unless he went to the land of Yuyan and didn't come to the divinity to stir up trouble, the only outcome for him would be death. Luo Huang had been with the sect master of the craftsman's sect for many years. She knew something about the craftsman's sect. She had only seen the tip of the iceberg, but it was enough to stun her. The craftsman's sect had been entrenched in the divinity for millions of years. They were like a towering tree. What could Lu Li do even if he could cut off some roots? Once the craftsman's sect's bottom line was crossed and they used their trump card, Lu Li would be reduced to ashes in an instant. It was not a big deal to destroy several branches of the craftsman's sect. However, if Lu Li kept on attacking, when the craftsman's sect had to use their trump card, not even Luo Huang knew what Lu Li would be facing. Is it a shame that you can't be with Lu Li? The sect master suddenly said, which startled Luo Huang. She shook her head at once. Of course not. How can I like Lu Li? Don't deny it. The sect master shook his head with a smile. If I were your age, I would fall for Lu Li. There are so many heroes in the world, but few have Lu Li's character and backbone. He is qualified to win the hearts of all the women in the world. But, Huang you must think this through. A man like Lu Li is not suitable to be a husband, but a lover. Women need stability. If you have to wander around with a man and worry day and night, is that really what you want? Lu Li's character has determined his fate. He is a man who will never settle down. Either he rises to the top and stands at the peak, or he will sink into oblivion. You are right, Sect Master. Luo Huang understands. Luo Huang lowered her head. The light in her eyes dimmed down. She felt bitter as well. Since she was born, Lu Li was the only man that could move her heart. But clearly, she had fallen out of love before they even started dating. Something big is about to happen. At the same time, in a beautiful garden in the King Pan city, Pan Yuqin exclaimed after receiving the news. She told Lu Li to go to the divinity and cultivate for a while before coming back. She had a feeling that something would happen to Lu Li in the divinity. Being hunted down by the craftsman's sect and declaring war against the craftsman's sect were two different things. Once the war was declared, it would be irreconcilable. The craftsman's sect would not compromise with Lu Li because of their pride. What was more, Lu Li had said that he would wipe out all the branches of the craftsman's sect. He even asked for information from the Hall of Bloodblade. The matter was getting out of hand. Destroying several branches would not hurt the craftsman's sect too much. But if too many branches were destroyed, the craftsman's sect would have to resort to their trump card. By then, Lu Li would perish soon, not to mention that he had not reached the level of a supreme warrior in the divinity. Someone. Pan Yuqin thought for a while and said, "Go and find Yi Kai." After a while, Yi Kai came. Pan Yuqin waved her hand and said, "Send a message to Jian Shilai. Tell him to find Lu Li and tell him that he must not attack more than 30 branches of the craftsman's sect. Otherwise, the craftsman's sect will resort to their hidden forces. By then, he will die even if he is as strong as the Slayer." Yes. Yi Kai bowed and left to send the message. Pan Yuqin sighed and was ready to cultivate. However, at that moment, space suddenly trembled. Then, a pair of eyes appeared in midair. Seeing the eyes, Pan Yuqin stood up with respect, bowed and said, "Grandpa." "Little Qin." A gentle voice said, "Recently, you have been slacking on your cultivation. Don't be distracted by that punk Lu Li. A few days ago, I performed a divination on him. You are right, he does have the fate of fire. But there is one thing you didn't know. He has the fate of supernatural beings. Supernatural beings are malefic stars in the sky. Usually, malefic stars do not end well. So, you must not fall in love with him. You are the next Master Pan. You must know your mission." "I understand, Grandpa." Chapter 1589. Soon, Lu Li made his second move. He destroyed a base of materials at the southern divinity as well. The base belonged to the craftsman's sect. There were 50 to 60,000 warriors stationed here, including 2 super mighty warriors in the divinity. Apart from the miners, everyone else was killed by Lu Li. Lu Li even carved some words with his sword, stating that he was the one who did it. The warriors ran away and spread the news. Once again, the divinity was in an uproar. Lu Li was not joking. He was ready to wage war against the craftsman's sect and wipe out all the branch forces. Many branches of the craftsman's sect were in danger. Many requests for help were sent to the craftsman's city, asking for supreme warriors from the divinity to stay. Many branches did not have supreme warriors from the divinity. Lu Li could kill super mighty warriors in the divinity easily, and he could come and go without a trace. Who could tell if he would sneak up and kill everyone? The master of the craftsman's sect came up with a plan. He sent many supreme warriors from the divinity to the branches. However, Luo Yi reported what happened in the purgatory of primordial chaos back to the divinity. Many powerful warriors of the craftsman's sect felt troubled. How could Lu Li defeat supreme warriors in the divinity? Luo Yi was not that powerful, but he was a supreme warrior in the divinity. If one or two of the supreme warriors were killed by Lu Li, the craftsman's sect would be humiliated. But what could the craftsman's sect do? They could not find Lu Li. He could attack the remaining branches at any time. The craftsman's sect had to send supreme warriors. Lu Li stopped. He wanted to continue attacking, but if he delayed any longer, he would soon die. In a couple of days, the number of worms of the void would double. He had no time to waste. He disguised himself and teleported to the Western divinity. He did not have time to find Qi Shi'er and Little White. He went to the Green Valley Herbalists. The Green Valley Herbalists lived in the palace of Kai Yun at the Western divinity. There was a large green valley there, which was why the Green Valley Herbalists gave themselves this nickname. The teleportation went smoothly. Lu Li's skin mask helped him a lot. As long as he did not run into supreme warriors in the divinity, no one could tell who he was. There were only so many supreme warriors in the divinity. They were all stationed at the branch forces. Lu Li would not go to the major cities unless he was unlucky. He teleported day and night for half a month. Finally, he arrived at the palace of Kai Yun. He rested in a small city for half a day and night before he went to the valley. Previously, Lu Li went to the Hall of Bloodblade to find a way to deal with the worms of the void. They knew that the Green Valley Herbalists were the best in Poison's Inn. If the Green Valley Mountain Dwellers had something to do with the Craftsman's sect or the four legendary forces, then Lu Li would be in danger. He had no Lu. He had no other way other than to Lu and he. However, he Li. Soon, he and Lu as he could not. Outside the Valley of Green, Lu Li used psychic power to check. It was a huge valley filled with lush trees. There were no flowers. It was a vast expanse of greenery. Lu Li did not enter the valley rashly. He sensed there were sentries at the entrance of the valley. He walked out of the valley, cupped his fists and said, "I am Luo Yang of the Craftsman's sect. I would like to see you, Hermit of the Green Valley." He also Lu Lu. The hidden sentry appeared outside in a flash. He glanced at Lu Li and asked, "What proof do you have?" Lu Li smiled. "Is there anyone in the world who dares to pretend to be from the Craftsman's sect? Wait here, I'll go report to the hillman." The sentry pondered about it for a while. Then he cupped his fists to Lu Li and left. From the beginning to the end, his attitude was not respectful at all. Lu Li felt excited. It seemed that the Craftsman's sect and the people of the Green Valley were not on good terms. After an hour, that man finally came out. Not only was Lu Li not angry, he was even more relieved. The people of Green Valley Mountain had left him hanging for an hour, which meant that they did not have a good relationship with the Craftsman's sect. Otherwise, why would they dare to leave him hanging for so long? "Sir." The sentry cupped his fists and said, "Our mountain man said that he is refining a strange poison and is at a crucial moment. If you have something important to say, let me pass it on. If not, please come back later." "All right." Lu Li was delighted. Clearly, the relationship between the Green Valley Mountain and the Craftsman's sect was not good. That being said, Lu Li didn't want to fall out with the Craftsman's sect. He grinned and said, "I am not here on behalf of the Craftsman's sect. I am here to ask the mountain man for some medicine. I can pay any price. I just want to see the mountain man. I can give you 10 billion divine sources with both hands." The sentinel's expression changed slightly. He nodded, turned around, and went back inside. This time, he came back in the time for 2 incense sticks to burn. He made an inviting gesture and said, "Sir, please come with me. Our mountain man has agreed to see you." Lu Li breathed in relief. If the Green Valley Mountain man refused to see him, it would be troublesome. He could not force his way in. The poison of the Green Valley Mountain Man could kill supreme warriors in the divinity. Luli followed the sentry. The sentry told Luli to follow him at all times and not to touch anything or he might be poisoned. There are so many poisons, Luli observed along the way. He noticed that there was smoke in the woods and some leaves were clearly poisonous. If he tried to sneak in here, he would not even know how he died. After more than 3 miles, Luli arrived at a house in the center of the valley. There were many people here. They must be from the Green Valley Mountain Man. Those people were cold to Luli. They didn't even give him a second look. They were so arrogant. Finally, Luli entered a large yard and met the Green Valley Mountain Man. He was an old man in a green robe. He was hale and hearty and his hair was combed neatly. He didn't look like a poison master at all. "Greetings, Mountain Man." Luli saluted with respect. The Green Valley Mountain Man looked at Luli and said with a gloomy face, "You are not from the Craftsman's sect. Who are you? What are you up to by offending a disciple of the Craftsman's sect?" Luli was surprised. The Green Valley Mountain Man could tell that Luli was not from the Craftsman's sect. Could he see through Luli's mask? But judging from the Green Valley Mountain Man's chi and energy, he should only be a super mighty warrior in the divinity. While Luli was hesitating, not knowing what to say, the eyes of the Verdant Valley Hermit glowed. He suddenly sneered and said, "I know. You must be the famous Luli in the divinity. How dare you come to my place? Aren't you afraid that I will kill you and go to the Craftsman's sect for the reward?" Impressive! Even though Luli didn't know how the Green Valley Mountain Man could tell who he was, he admired the Green Valley Mountain Man. At the same time, he was relieved. The Green Valley Mountain Man wouldn't do such a thing if he could say something like this. Luli wiped his face and revealed his real face. He said with a bitter smile, "I was chased by the Craftsman's sect and I had to be careful. Please forgive me for being rude. I have come here because I am ready to take a gamble. I am betting on your character. If you want to kill me for the reward, then I will have to accept my fate." Ha ha ha! The Green Valley Mountain Man burst into laughter. He stroked his beard and said, "No wonder you can make such a scene. You are something. You don't have to provoke me. I have some fame in the divinity. I cannot do something like this. Tell me, what do you want?" Luli bowed again and said, "Luo Yi went down to capture my people. I had to go down from the void. As a result, I was poisoned by the worms of the void. There are more than 200,000 worms of the void in me now. I have no other way. I heard that you are a resourceful person, so I have come to ask for help. If you can save my life, just tell me your conditions and I will try my best to fulfill them." Chapter 1590. Worms of the Void. The Verdant Valley Hermit's expressions grew solemn. He shot divine energy at Luli's hand. Luli didn't try to stop it. Just as he said, entering here and having his identity exposed, he was actually gambling with his life. If the Verdant Valley Hermit wanted to kill him, Luli would not be able to stop him. His poison could kill supreme warriors in the divinity. The strand of divine energy disappeared into Luli's hand. Then, it wandered around Luli's body like a snake. After 2 rounds, the divine energy flew out of Luli's hand and returned to the Verdant Valley Mountain Man. "I don't think it is divine energy. Is it some kind of special worm?" Luli raised his eyebrows. If it was divine energy, how could it fly back? The Verdant Valley Hermit pondered and frowned. Luli became nervous because this was a matter of life and death for him. Many warriors were not afraid of death, but nobody wanted to die. Wouldn't it be better to stay alive? If Luli died, Bai Qiushue and the others would die with him. After the time for 2 incense sticks to burn, the Verdant Valley Hermit finally looked up. He shook his head and said, "Luli, go. I will not save you." Luli's expressions changed. Was the Verdant Valley Hermit trying to raise the price or could he not save Luli? Since the Verdant Valley Hermit said he would not save Luli, not that he couldn't, then there must be a way. Luli cupped his fists and asked, "You won't save me? Hillman, can you tell me the reason?" "I can tell you." The Verdant Valley Hermit came straight to the point. "I am 60% sure that I can solve the worms of the void. But there are too many of them. It will take me too much time and energy. Also, to solve all the worms of the void, I will have to use a poison I have in storage. I have spent hundreds of thousands of years, and I only have 10 vats of this poison. If I want to save you, I will need at least 7 or 8 vat. I am not related to you. You are not worthy of my poison. Also," the Verdant Valley Hermit continued after a pause, "when the poison enters your body, it will hurt you as well. Your body will become weaker and you will be more afraid of cold. Unless you can find a sacred medicine, but that kind of sacred medicine should only be available in the Hall of Life and Death. With your relationship with the Craftsman's sect, going to the Hall of Life and Death is equivalent to committing suicide. So," Luli understood. The eyes of the Green Valley Mountain people were sincere. It didn't seem like they were trying to raise the price. Luli thought for a while and said with a bitter smile, "I will live a little longer if I can. Hillman, name your price and help me destroy the worms of void." Green Valley Mountain Man's expression became a little awkward. His eyes flickered for a moment before he asked, "You can actually find another way?" Although there is no way to break the void worm, some powerhouses of the major forces should be able to do so. Luli forced a smile and said, "Do I have time?" "You're right." The Green Valley Mountain Man curled his lips. There were more than 200,000 worms of void in Luli's body. At this rate, in less than half a month, there would be millions of worms of void in Luli's body. By then, Luli's body would be gone. Nobody could save him. Green Valley Mountain Man became conflicted once again. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, he let out a long sigh and said, "Fine, fine, this old master will also take a gamble. If you die, this old master will consider it a loss. I don't want your divine source. I just want you to kill someone for me later." "Kill someone?" Luli was surprised. No wonder the Green Valley Mountain Man was in a dilemma. He wasn't trying to raise the price. He was just afraid that if Luli died, then he would have saved Luli for nothing and wasted so many poisons. After all, he himself said that he was only 60% sure. If he couldn't save Luli, then he would suffer a great loss. What Luli didn't understand was that the Green Valley Mountain Man could poison supreme warriors in the divinity to death. Why would such a powerful warrior want to kill someone? Luli didn't think for long. He cupped his fists and said, "Hillman, who do you want to kill? If I can do it, I will." "Don't worry. I am not asking you to kill supreme warriors in the divinity. I don't think you can do that with your current abilities." The Green Valley Mountain Man waved his hand. After a pause, he said, "The one I want you to kill is a young master named Zhuochuyan." "Zhuochuyan?" Luli repeated. Was this surname Zhuo or Zhuochio? It was a strange name. Luli asked, "Hillman, do you have any information about this man? You don't know him?" The Green Valley Mountain Man looked at Luli in surprise. Seeing that Luli really knew nothing, the Green Valley Mountain Man said with a bitter smile, "This man ranks number 3 on the list. He is the favorite grandson of Zhuochurong, the Deputy Master of Spacetime Office." Deputy Master of Spacetime Office. Luli understood. No wonder the Green Valley Mountain Man didn't dare to kill him. He couldn't afford to offend Spacetime Office, but Luli did. Now that Luli had offended a superforce, he didn't mind offending another. Luli hesitated for a while. It was not that he was afraid of Spacetime Office. It was just that he didn't want to kill someone for no reason. Luli thought about it and asked, "Hillman, can I ask, what is his character like?" "Character? The Green Valley Mountain Man flew into a rage. He glared at Luli and snorted, "One of my grandnieces was defiled and killed by this bastard. If it were not for the fact that his grandpa is Wachuron, I would have killed his entire family. Okay. Luli hated those young masters who used their family background to do evil. He said decisively, "Don't worry, Hillman. As long as I can survive, I will find a chance to kill Wachuron. Also, I promise you that I will not tell anyone about this and I will not implicate you. I have already offended the Craftsman's sect. I don't mind another spacetime office." Deal. The Green Valley Mountain Man nodded. He stood up and said, "I will go and get ready. There is no time to lose. We will start today. But you must be prepared. The worms of the void are hard to crack. It will take a long time, half a year at least, 3 to 5 years at most. It might even take more than 10 years. Okay." Luli nodded and asked, "Hillman, you don't need me to take an almighty oath or something like that? Aren't you afraid that I will go back on my word?" "Ha ha ha." The Green Valley Mountain Man laughed and said, "I know something about you. If you were that kind of person, I wouldn't have wasted my time talking to you. I won't force you. If you can survive, just try your best. I won't blame you no matter what you do." "Thank you, Hillman." Luli bowed. Even though this Green Valley Mountain Man was the most powerful in poisons, he was not sinister or malicious. Instead, he was open and aboveboard, righteous and heroic, which was admirable. The Green Valley Mountain Man left to get ready. Luli stood in the hall, hesitating whether he should take Chi Shear or not. If he didn't, Chi Shear would be lonely at the Swords Mountain. She was someone who lacked a sense of security. On the other hand, if Luli had been working on the worms of the void, Chi Shear would be more worried. There were poisons everywhere. Luli would not be at ease. Never mind. I will ask the Hillman to send a message. Chapter 1591. In a castle in the Green Valley, inhibition formations were glowing. The Green Valley Hermit had given an order that nobody was allowed to get close, not even his family. The Green Valley Hermit knew very well that once the news that Luli was here got out, the entire Green Valley would be slaughtered by the Craftsman's sect. That was why he didn't want to save Luli. That being said, the fact that the Craftsman's sect could not find Luli after such a long time was proof that Luli was good at hiding. That human skin mask was well made. If it were not for the fact that the Craftsman's sect had some special means, the Green Valley Hermit would not have been able to see through Luli's disguise. There was only one hall in the castle. In the middle of the hall was a vat filled with a green liquid that was bubbling with black smoke. One look and Luli could tell that the liquid was poisonous. "Jump in." The Green Valley Hermit pointed to the vat and said. Luli threw it a few glances and then jumped in. As soon as he was in, he felt his skin was burning. The armor inside him was about to come out to protect him out of instinct. "Don't use the armor. You will feel better after a while." The Green Valley Hermit shouted and explained, "The worms of the void are strange bugs. They can be tangible and intangible at the same time. Because they live in the void all year round, they are very strong in defense. To kill the worms of the void, regular means are useless. The only way is to attack them slowly with a special poison and eventually kill them all." "Open your mouth." Luli put the armor back into his body and opened his mouth. The Green Valley Hermit threw some pellets into Luli's mouth. He explained, "Don't worry. As long as I am here, no poison can kill you. You will just suffer a little bit. Also, this is one of the top 10 poisons in the world. It contains strong energy. If you absorb the energy, your divine energy will be enhanced quickly and your soul will be nourished as well." "Of course," the Green Valley Hermit sighed and said, "everything has its pros and cons. The poison will corrode your body slowly. You will become weaker and weaker and you will be afraid of cold. If you cannot find a solution in 100 years, you will be so weak that you can't even walk. In 200 years at most, you will die." Luli nodded. He could not say anything even if he wanted to. The poison was invading his body. He felt his entire body was burning, and it was extremely painful. He tried his best to sit in the vat with his legs crossed. Only his head was outside. Sweat dripped down from his forehead, but he was calm. "You are something." The Green Valley Mountain Man knew very well how powerful his poison was. Luli was so young and yet he could stand it. Luli was not only did he not make a sound, but he was also Green Valley Hermit. It could be seen that Luli had been through pain many times worse than this before. His endurance and willpower were very strong. 2 hours later, the Green Valley Hermit threw something poisonous into the tank. Luli felt his hair stand on end, because what he threw in was a type of insect. Fortunately, these insects did not drill into his body, but just wandered inside, making the venom become restless. 2 hours later, Green Valley Mountain Man added some poison. After observing for a moment, he nodded and said, "It's going well for now. The poison has already entered your body and is beginning to invade those void worms. There will be no reaction during this time. Gradually, the worm's churn hermit will slow down. You don't have to worry about anything. If you can, cultivate. Absorb the energy in the poison and turn it into divine energy and soul. It will be of great help to you. Leave the rest to me." "Thank you, Hermit Godlin Hermit." Luli opened his eyes and said. Then, he forced himself to cultivate. At first, he could not because he would be interrupted by the pain. But after 4 or 5 days, Luli had gotten used to the pain. He had built up a resistance to it and he could cultivate, albeit with difficulty. There is a lot of energy. Luli cultivated for a while. He used divine energy to absorb the energy in the poison and turn it into a powerful form of energy. Divine energy was used quickly to transform the energy. When Luli was about to absorb the entrancing pellet, the dragon's soul in his soul moved. The dragon's soul glared. All the energy Luli had transformed was absorbed by the dragon's soul. Nothing was left. Luli sensed that his soul was not strengthened at all. He was a bit upset. The dragon's soul was overbearing and the energy was so powerful that it could enhance his divine energy and soul. Now, it was all devoured by the dragon's soul. He had to continue to consume the energy in the poison. What upset him was that, every time he tried to consume some energy, the dragon's soul would devour it, leaving nothing for him. When he was in the Valley of Ghosts, the dragon's soul would help him transform the energy in the soul ripples into divine energy and soul energy. Now it was all devoured. Luli was so upset that he almost gave up on consuming the energy. "Let's see how much you can take." There was a lot of energy in the poison, and the Hermit of Green Valley Hermit would keep pouring it in. Luli wanted to see how much the dragon's soul could take. Could not go on forever, could it? 1 day, 10 days, a month. Luli was so upset that he was about to vomit blood. He had been consuming for a month, and all the energy had been devoured by the dragon's soul. Luli had lost all motivation. He felt like he was working for someone else. What cheered Luli up was that he was more resistant to the poison. He didn't feel so much pain anymore. What was more, the frequency of the worms of the void chewing had slowed down. Now it was once every 10 days. Luli could tell that the poison was slowly suppressing the worms of the void. Maybe the worms of the void could be poisoned to death. Whatever. The energy will be wasted if I don't absorb it. I will let the dragon's soul take advantage. Maybe, if I absorb more of the dragon's soul, I can become stronger and help me fend off more powerful soul attack. Luli thought about it and decided that he might as well let it go. While he was refining the energy in the poison, he started to study the killer move, Sword Mark. No, it should be the Ghost King cut. He believed that if he continued to study this move, it could be more powerful. On the other hand, Luli had been consuming soul-nurturing pellet. He had reached the level of a super mighty warrior in every aspect except for his soul. As long as his soul could be improved, His chi and energy would be enhanced and his abilities would be enhanced as well. He would become a real super mighty warrior in the divinity. This punk is a promising young man. The hermit of Green Valley Hermit nodded, seeing that Luli had been cultivating in peace. At such a young age, Luli could defeat the super mighty warriors in the divinity. If he could survive, he would become a supreme warrior in the divinity. Alas! But the hermit of Green Valley Hermit could not help but sigh, considering that Luli's enemy was the craftsman's sect and that he would have to deal with the space-time office in the future. Chapter 1592. After Luli attacked 2 branches of the craftsman's sect, he went missing again. He did not show up for months. Craftsman's sect's master of sacrifice, Patriarch Chi and Patriarch Bao mobilized many people but to no avail. The divinity, which had been bustling with noise, quieted down again. They had thought that Luli would keep attacking. Many people were eager to see a good show. However, Luli suddenly became silent, which made many people depressed. They had a feeling that he was not going to be able to sleep on his wedding night. That being said, many people could understand. After all, Luli's abilities were limited and he was so young. It was already commendable that he could achieve what he had. How could they expect him to wipe out the craftsman's sect? Emperor of Heaven Reverse accepted Luli's message from the Green Valley Hermit. Luli only told the messenger to say one thing. He was following the original plan and please cooperate. Emperor of Heaven Reverse was smart enough to know that it was Luli who sent the message. The message was clear. Luli had gone to the Green Valley Hermit and asked Emperor of Heaven Reverse to take good care of Qi Shi'er. Qi Shi'er was not in a good state. She lacked a sense of security. She knew very well that Luli must have left her for something dangerous, or else he would have taken her with him. Therefore, she was not in the mood to cultivate recently. She was anxious. At this rate, her mental state would deteriorate. Emperor of Heaven Reverse sent some young ladies of the immediate family to keep Qi Shi'er company. Unfortunately, Qi Shi'er could not get over the knot in her heart. Everything she did was tasteless. Luli sent a message to Emperor of Heaven Reverse, who went to find Qi Shi'er at once and told her what Luli said. Emperor of Heaven Reverse tactfully said that Luli was safe and would come back after a while. He asked Qi Shi'er to focus on her cultivation. Qi Shi'er trusted Emperor of Heaven Reverse. Emperor of Heaven Reverse looked like a kind old man and he was very trustworthy. She went back to her room quietly and began to cultivate. But if Luli didn't come back, she would get restless again after a while. How could Luli come back so soon? The Green Valley Hermit said that it would take a long time to poison the worms of the void. Those worms lived in the void all year round. To be able to survive in such a harsh environment, they must be strong. Half a year passed by in the blink of an eye. Luli woke up from cultivation, not because he was tired. Instead, it was because the dragon's soul had finally stopped absorbing energy and began to transmit energy to him, allowing him to improve his soul and divine power. The number of worms of the void had reached more than 1 million. But it had been over a month since they were fed. This gave Luli hope. The worms of the void were clearly poisoned. They would all die after a while. As long as the worms of the void were cured, Luli could not worry about the side effects of the poison for now. It didn't matter if his body was weak and he was afraid of the cold. As long as his battle prowess wasn't affected for a short period of time, as long as he was alive, there was hope. Only the hall had the elixir? Luli did not believe that the vast divinity realm did not have it. Moreover, if the divinity realm did not have it, did it mean that the land of Yuyan did not have it? At worst, he could just ask the Hall of Bloodblade to purchase it from the Hall of Life and Death, or ask other factions to purchase it. There was always a glimmer of hope. Luli was exhilarated by the rapid improvement of his divine energy and soul. Li's spiritual energy was increased. The divine Li's cultivation. The god's divine energy was not as well. If Luli could cultivate with the elixir, how fast would he improve? Of course, Luli could only dream about it. First of all, the elixir had a strong side effect. Secondly, the Green Valley Hermit had spent hundreds of thousands of years on the elixir. Luli had to use more than half of the time. The elixir was precious. The Green Valley Hermit did not keep an eye on Luli during this time. He would come in every 10 days to inject some elixir. If there were no accidents, the void worm should be poisoned to death in another half a year. Luli was glad. After all, he had saved Luli and he had a chance to kill Zhuochuyan. He thought he could never kill Zhuochuyan or else the Spacetime Office would raze the Green Valley to the ground. As a matter of fact, he could send someone to assassinate Zhuochuyan, but he did not dare to take the risk. If he was found out, his entire family would perish. Therefore, Luli was the best choice. Judging by Luli's past behavior, he would never expose himself. Spacetime Office would not associate Luli with Zhuochuyan's murder. After all, Luli had a notorious reputation in the divinity. He was a lunatic. Nobody would be surprised if he killed anyone. Okay, my soul is as strong as a super mighty warrior in the divinity. Luli suddenly opened his eyes after sitting in the vat for 11 months. He felt he had been sublimated and his chi and energy were stronger. During this time, the dragon's soul no longer devoured energy. Instead, it transformed the energy and his soul absorbed much of it. His soul was growing fast. Luli had been consuming top-level soul pellets, which helped to speed up the breakthrough. Divine energy and soul were easy to reach for super mighty warriors in the divinity. The key was fundamental principles and killer move. If it were not for the cut of Ghost King, Luli would not have made the breakthrough. The move that made Ghost King famous was the combination of several powerful fundamental principles. Luli spent more than 700,000 years in a spacetime black hole to learn it. If it were not for the fact that he was in a spacetime black hole, Luli would have to spend many years to learn it. Good. The worms of the void ate 3 more times, but they didn't split up. Luli was relieved. The worms of the void were suppressed by the elixir. They would all die in a while. Keep cultivating. The energy in the elixir could not be wasted. It would be difficult for super mighty warriors in the divinity to reach the supremacy stage. Without the support of super forces and rare encounters, Luli would not be able to reach the divine energy and soul realm without hundreds or thousands of years of cultivation, let alone fundamental principles. 3 months passed and the worms didn't eat again. Luli checked with psychic power. He seemed to be in a bad condition and could die at any moment. What? Luli used psychic power to check again. When he was about to resume cultivation, he suddenly noticed that the worms in his body were becoming active and they were swarming toward his head. Oh no! Luli was taken aback. If the worms were to reach his head would be gone after one bite. He instinctively wanted to shout for the Green Valley Mountain Men to come over, but then he remembered that the people outside were all Green Valley Mountain Men. If he shouted and his identity was exposed, it would bring disaster to the Green Valley Mountain Men. The worms must know that they are about to die. That is why they want to kill me to save themselves. Luli thought quickly. At this moment of life and death, his mind became clearer. In an instant, he had an idea. He sent a message to Blood Fairy, invade my soul and attack it. Let the dragon's soul protect you. Luli realized that the only way for him to survive was the dragon's soul. If the dragon's soul could not control the worms, this day next year would be the anniversary of his death. Chapter 1593. Luli had tried to summon the dragon's soul before, but he could not command it. The dragon's soul would only protect its master when his soul was under attack. Therefore, Luli came up with an idea. he asked Blood Fairy to attack his soul. Whoosh! Blood Fairy came out from the interspatial ring at once. She went into Lu Li's mind and began to attack his soul. Buzzing, the silver dragon mark outside Lu Li's soul came out at once. It glowed in a silver light and wandered around his soul. Blood Fairy retreated quickly. She knew very well how strong the dragon's soul was. If Lu Li was attacked, Blood Fairy would be devoured by the dragon's soul. The dragon's soul was moving around in Lu Li's soul. At the same time, hundreds of thousands of worms of the void had entered Lu Li's head. How big could Lu Li's head be? How could it contain so many worms of the void? Naturally, the worms of the void would swarm toward his soul. Roar! Lu Li seemed to hear a soundless roar. Then, the dragon's soul glowed even brighter and whooshed toward the worms of the void. Lu Li was extremely nervous. If the dragon's soul could not contain the worms, he would die for sure. Buzzing, the dragon's soul glowed in a silver light and wandered around in Lu Li's mind. What confused Lu Li was, the dragon's soul did not devour the worms. Instead, it whooshed past them. Oh no! Lu Li shouted to himself. Were the worms tangible and the dragon's soul could not devour them? Since the dragon's soul was intangible, it seemed that it could only devour intangible objects. Those worms could materialize, which was why they were so hard to kill. Wait, Lu Li's heart skipped a beat. He noticed a problem. There were too many worms in his mind. If those worms could materialize, wouldn't his mind explode? Well, the worms are not moving? Soon, Lu Li noticed another problem. Wherever the dragon's soul went, the worms stopped moving and stayed where they were. Are they contained? Lu Li was overjoyed, but he was not completely relieved. He observed nervously. The dragon's soul spun around in his mind, and all the worms that entered his mind stopped moving. There were more worms swarming into Lu Li's mind. Luckily, they were intangible, or else Lu Li's head would explode. The dragon's soul continued to wander. After the dragon's soul wandered past, the insects that came in behind all obediently stayed still, not daring to move. After the time for one incense stick to burn, all the worms had entered Lu Li's mind. They seemed to be suppressed by the dragon's soul. Lu Li used psychic power to check. Making sure that there were no insects in his body, he became even more nervous. How long could the dragon's soul suppress it? If so many bugs moved, his head would be eaten in an instant. When that happened, he would become a headless corpse just like the divine corpse. Damn, Lu Li noticed that the dragon's soul had stopped moving. It had returned to his body and then quieted down. Lu Li was so scared that his soul almost left his body. The dragon's soul was silent. What if the insect was not suppressed? Wouldn't his head be gone in an instant? No movement. Soon, Lu Li was overjoyed. The worms didn't move and nothing happened after the time for half an incense stick to burn. Lu Li waited for a moment. All of a sudden, a spiritual connection appeared in his mind. He found it strange. This is the void worm? Lu Li was baffled to find that he had a spiritual connection with a worm of the void. How could he have a spiritual connection with a worm? How could he have a spiritual connection with the worm? He didn't refine this worm, did he? Is it the dragon's soul? Lu Li had an idea. Apart from this, there was no other explanation. If the dragon's soul could suppress the worms of the void, then theoretically, it should be possible to consume the worms of the void. The dragon's soul had a spiritual connection with Lu Li. If the dragon's soul consumed the worms of the void, then he would have done the same. But why was there only one bug that had a spiritual connection? Could it be that this worm was the mother? The rest of the worms were split from this worm? Lu Li had an idea. He controlled the worm to fly into his body. The worm snuck into his abdomen. As soon as it moved, all the other worms moved. It really is the mother. Lu Li's heart skipped a beat. He was delighted. This was the mother. It had divided into 2 offspring, and then 4 and then 8. That was to say, all the worms of the void were born from the mother and all the worms were under its command. Come out! Luli ordered the mother. That worm flew out from Luli's body at once. Then, all the worms came out and flew into the sky. Okay. Luli flew out from the water tank. He looked at the half-transparent worms in the sky with delight. Those worms had become tangible. They were only the size of a grain of rice, like ant. There was nothing special about them. Phew, phew, Luli breathed heavily. Finally, he was out from the gate of death. The worms of the void that had troubled him for so long were solved. Dragon soul, why didn't you consume the worms of the void earlier? Luli was frustrated. If the dragon's soul could consume the worms of the void, then he wouldn't have to come to the Green Valley. He wouldn't have to endure such pain and suffer from sequelae. However, it seemed that the dragon's soul could not consume the worms of the void. Could it only consume? Had the dragon's soul evolved? Had it evolved after consuming the energy from the poison for half a year? How could the worms of the void be consumed? Luli did not know. What was done. He had to put aside his worries. Buzzing, the inhibition formation on the gate suddenly glowed. Clearly, the Green Valley Hermit was coming in. Luli took out the wicked bead at once and put away all the worms of the void. When Luli put away the worms of the void, the gate was opened and the Green Valley Hermit walked in. Seeing Luli outside the water tank, the Green Valley Hermit asked in surprise, "Luli, how come you are out? Is something wrong?" Luli thought for a while. Cupping his fists, he said, "Thank you, Hermit. All the worms of the void are gone." "They are gone?" The Green Valley Hermit was surprised. According to his estimation, it would take at least a month or two for the worms of the void to die. Also, the worms of the void would not all die at once. They would die in batches. How could they all die at once? The Green Valley Hermit looked at Luli with suspicion. Instead of using psychic power to check, he asked, "Are you sure?" "Yes." Luli nodded. He did not explain because it involved the secrets of the dragon's soul. Besides, he had tamed the worms of the void. This was one of his secret weapons and he did not want to expose it. "That's good." The Green Valley Hermit smiled but did not ask further. He nodded and said, "Then you can rest in the valley for half a month. You will be fine for now, but you will get weaker over time. You will be more sensitive to the cold. From now on, you will have to walk your own path. I cannot help you. You've helped me a lot. You saved my life." Chapter 1594. Luli stayed in the Green Valley for half a month. Hermit of the Green Valley nurtured his body with many elixirs. But Luli didn't feel he was getting stronger. Instead, he felt weaker. What the Hermit of the Green Valley mentioned happened. Luli felt weak and he was afraid of the cold. It was the hottest day in the summer, but somehow, Luli felt cold. His complexion had also become slightly pale, losing a lot of color. He looked like a scholar who had just recovered from a serious illness. That being said, Luli's physical strength was still there. This did not affect his abilities. He put on a thick robe and disguised himself as a bearded man. Then, he left the Green Valley. He teleported to the Swords Mountain after he left the Green Valley. He was worried about Chi-Shir. Along the way, he noticed that there were scouts from many cities, not only from the craftsmen's sect but also from other forces. But how could those low-level scouts see through him? He teleported all the way, and the teleportation route was constantly changing. He would rather teleport a few more times, and he even changed his appearance a few times. This way it would be safer. At the Rising Sun Prefecture, Luli didn't teleport again. He sneaked up to the Swords Mountain. The moment he entered the castle, Chi-Shir, who was notified, ran to him in tears. "Luli, take a rest." Emperor of Heaven Reverse smiled and left. Since Luli could come back, it meant that he had solved the worms of the void. They could talk about other things later. Luli comforted Qi Shi for an hour before she calmed down. He promised that he would take her with him for the rest of the mission. Only then did she put on a sweet smile. "Brother, why are you wearing so much? Don't you feel hot?" Qi Shi was confused to see that Luli was wearing a thick robe and didn't look well. Even regular immortals wouldn't be afraid of the cold, let alone Luli. It seemed that Luli was afraid of the cold. "I am okay." Luli smiled lightly and said, "I was poisoned and I went to detoxify it a while ago. Now it is gone. But there are some side effects. I am afraid of the cold and I am weak. I will be fine after some rest." Qi Shi was alone, so she didn't overthink. She knew that Luli would not come back to see her without the antidote. "Take a seat first. I'll have a chat with the great emperor." Luli kissed Qi Shi on her red lips and walked out. He chatted with Emperor of Heaven Reverse, and told him that the Green Valley Mountain Man had helped him, but there were some side effects. He was afraid of the cold and weak. The worms of the void were the most horrifying. As for the side effects, Emperor of Heaven Reverse did not worry too much. After all, there were too many treasures in the world. Luli had reached the level of a super mighty warrior in the divinity. How strong was his body? Therefore, Emperor of Heaven Reverse did not mind. Luli stayed at the Swords Mountain for a couple of days. He contacted the Earth Imperial Universe through Emperor of Heaven Reverse to reassure Patriarch of Law Enforcement, Jiang Qiling, and Bai Qiushu. Moreover, he vaguely told the Enforcement Elder and the others that he had already broken the Void Worm. Luren Wang was not here. He had led the army to attack the 8 universes. He had successfully conquered 6 universes. Unifying all the other universes was not a problem. In at most a year, the mortal world below would belong to the Lu clan. Luli told them not to worry and that he would contact them every once in a while. Jiang Qiling, Bai Qiushu, and Bai Xiaoshuang were relieved to hear this. With all this done, Luli left with Qi Shi. He could not stay at the Swords Mountain all the time. If his identity was exposed, the Swords sect would face a devastating disaster. He took Qi Shi to the Wei Di Mountain to take Little White away. Luli could not rest easy with Little White here. If Little White was captured or killed, he would feel guilty for the rest of his life. They entered the Wei Di Mountain. Luli used psychic power to check the mountain. Soon, he was surprised because he did not see Little White in the mountain. There was a hole in the mountain. Little White had eaten half of the mountain, but there was no sign of Little White. "What is it, brother?" Seeing the shock in Luli's eyes, Qi Shi asked with concern. "Little White is gone," Luli said in a hurry. He carried Qi Shi with one hand and ran up the mountain. He used psychic power to check, but could not find Little White. The inhibition formations are not touched. Did Little White go out to play by itself? Luli noticed that the inhibition formations he built were still there. The formations of illusion in the cave were not cracked, and the one-way teleportation formation was still there. "Let's go." He wandered around with Qi Shi, looking for Little White. He even let Blood Fairy out. However, after half a month, and almost turning the Wei Di Mountain upside down, Little White was nowhere to be found. Where did he go? Was he taken away? Or did he run away on his own? Luli was burning with anxiety. Little White was too weak. Even if it had grown stronger after eating the red and green stones, it could only be a prefecture warrior at best. Warriors of this level were plentiful in the divinity Whoosh. Luli left the mountain decisively and went to the Hall of Bloodblade in the Rising Sun City. He met someone that surprised him, Patriarch Jian Shilai. "Young Master Lu, I have been waiting for you for a long time." Jian Shilai forced a smile and cupped his fist. "Where have you been? Not even the Hall of Bloodblade can find you." "Something has happened. I have to find a place to cultivate." Luli gave a random explanation and asked, "Patriarch Jian Shilai, what can I do for you?" "Chief Hall Master asked me to send you a message." Jian Shilai told Lu Li what Pan Raindrop told him. He told Lu Li to attack no more than 30 branches of the craftsman's sect. Otherwise, nobody could save Lu Li if the craftsman's sect used their hidden forces. Lu Li was confused. He asked with a frown, "Hidden forces? What hidden forces does the craftsman's sect have that can kill me instantly? If they have this ability, why don't they use it now?" "I don't know the details." Jian Shilai shook his head. "I only know one thing. The Slayer, one of the top 10 on the divinity, did not die in a dangerous place. He was secretly killed by the Spacetime Office." Well, this was the first time Lu Li had heard of this. He frowned. His already sick face became even paler. He nodded slightly but said nothing. Instead, he brought up another matter. "Thank you, Patriarch Jian Shilai. I want to ask you to do 2 things for me. I will make sure the Hall of Bloodblade will be satisfied with the reward." "Let's not talk about the reward first." Patriarch Jian Shilai waved his hand and said, "Let's talk about the matter first. I will try my best if I can do it. First of all, I have lost a pet. This pet is very important to me." Lu Li took out a portrait of Little White. He explained and asked the Hall of Bloodblade to look for it nearby. This was a trivial matter for the Hall of Bloodblade, but they could not guarantee that they could find Jian Shilai. They could only try their best. Lu Li took out another map and handed it to Jian Shilai. "This is a kind of sacred medicine called Dragon's Tongue Leaf. This is the map." Chapter 1595. The land of Yuyan doesn't have it? Lu Li raised his eyebrows and asked. "Wasn't there a lot of elixirs in the land of Yuyan?" "No," Jian Shilai said while shaking his head. "There's only one mountain in the whole of the divinity that can produce such a sacred medicine, and only 100 of them will mature every 100 years. This mountain has been occupied by the Hall of Life and Death, and it is guarded by the supreme swordsman of the divinity all the time. It is basically impossible to attack the mountain and snatch the herb. Furthermore, I heard that the method to harvest the saint herb is very complicated. Even if you attack the mountain, you will not be able to harvest the saint herb." Lu Li thought about it and asked, "Can I buy it? Find someone to buy it from the Hall of Life and Death for a high price." "Impossible," Jian Shilai said while shaking his head. "This sacred medicine is almost never sold to the outside world. Even if it is sold, it will be sold to the other 3 supreme sects or to some major sects that the Life and Death Hall is familiar with. The smaller sects won't sell it to them. Even the 72 divine sects won't give them faith. Let's talk about this later." Lu Li felt a headache coming on. In the short term, his body should be fine apart from being afraid of the cold. The Green Valley Mountain Man had said that it would take 100 years for him to become so weak that he could no longer walk. He still had time to think of a way in the future. Lu Li thought about it and asked the third question, "Patriarch Shilai, can you help me find out Zhuoqiuyan's whereabouts? You don't have to be specific. Just tell me where he is or where he is going." "Zhuoqiuyan?" Jian Shilai asked with a gleam in his eyes. "The grandson of Zhuoqiu Rong?" Having received Lu Li's confirmation, Jian Shilai's expression grew grave. "Young Master Lu, do you want to kill Zhuoqiuyan? You can't do that. You've already offended the craftsman's sect. If you offend the Spacetime Mansion as well, then... Hee. Lu Li smiled lightly and said, "What is it? Wasn't it just being hunted down? Is there a difference between 1 Supreme God organization and 2 Supreme God organizations?" Sigh. Seeing that Lu Li was determined, Jian Shilai did not try to persuade him otherwise. All he could say was, "The matter is too dangerous. The Hall of Bloody Blade can only help you in a simple way, like locating a certain prefecture where Zhuoqiuyan is. It's impossible for us to investigate and track down Zhuoqiuyan. Otherwise, once the Spacetime Mansion finds out, our Bloodblade Hall will be in great trouble." That's exactly what I mean. Luli nodded slightly, stood up, and said, I will go to the Earth Emanations city first. When I get there, I might hide in a small city nearby. If you have any news, send someone to the nearby towns to take a look. I'll keep an eye out. Earth Emanations City. Jian Shilai lifted his head and asked, Are you going to destroy the evil Earth Palace first? They only want to kill their young palace master, Chou Qianjun. Luli smiled and explained, Chou Qianjun and my master, Patriarch Gu, once had a blood feud. I never did anything to him because I didn't want to become enemies with the Space-Time Office. Chou Qianjun's great-grandfather is an elder of the Space-Time Mansion. Now that I'm prepared to fall out with the Space-Time Mansion, I naturally have to avenge my master first. Alright. With a bitter smile, Jian Shilai felt sentimental as he looked at the pale-faced young man in front of him who looked like a feeble scholar. He knew it wouldn't be long before Luli took the divinity by storm again. However, Luli would also face a more serious situation. How far could Luli go? Jian Shilai was not sure how long he could live. However, some people could be as brilliant as a shooting star even though their lives were short. This kind of life was enough. It was like the Slayer and Luli at the moment. Luli left. Jian Shilai couldn't take care of Little White anymore. It was better for him to look for Little White alone than for the tens of thousands of people in the Hall of Bloodblade. He had something more important to do. He would try his best to fulfill his promises. The mountain man of Green Valley saved his life, so he must fulfill his promise. He went to the Earth Evil Palace and lived in a small town nearby. He had successfully found out that Chou Qianjun, the young palace master of the Evil Earth Palace, had been living in a big city recently and indulging in debauchery all day long. He didn't take action right away. He needed to wait for Jian Shilai's information. It was easy to kill Chou Qianjun, but killing Chou Qianjun would alert the Space-Time Mansion. He must find Zhuochuyan as soon as possible and end his life. He stayed in a tavern with Qi Shi. She didn't feel uneasy at all. As long as she could stay with Luli, she would feel at ease. Even if she had to change to a different tavern every day, even if she had to travel around the world as her home. During this time, Qi Shi was very clingy. She asked for sex almost every night. Luli knew that Qi Shi was not a person with strong desires. Clearly, she wanted a child. With a child, Luli would seek stability. He would take her to a place to cultivate and live in seclusion so that she could stay with Luli. Luli could never say no to Qi Shi's requests. They cultivated together during the day and spent every night together. Qi Shi was shy and couldn't let go of herself in bed. But after a while she was taught to do it. She began to try many embarrassing positions, which made Luli happy. On the 12th day of his stay in the small town, Luli used psychic power to check the city every now and then. He found some marks left by the Hall of Bloodblade. He went over and got accurate information. Zhuochuyan might go to the City of Light in 10 days for the wedding of the young master of the City of Light. The City of Light was a branch of the Space-Time Mansion. As the most powerful warrior of the young generation of the Space-Time Mansion, Zhuochuyan might attend the wedding. Luli checked the information after he came back. The City of Light was not far away. It would only take 1 or 2 days to teleport continuously. Okay. Luli put Qi Shi into the Wicked Bead, and then went to a nearby city. He used psychic power to locate Chou Qianjun in a luxurious mansion. But he didn't do anything. If he did, what if Zhuochuyan didn't come out? Should he go to the Space-Time City? Time moved on. Fortunately, Chou Qianjun had been staying here and didn't go back to the Earth Evil City. He must have hooked up with a pretty lady here and was having too much fun to think of home. It was the 8th day. Theoretically speaking, Zhuochuyan should have gone to the City of Light and Luli should be ready. He put away Qi Shi and strode toward a manor in the northwest. He concealed his energy. At the gate of the manor, some guards stopped him. Lu Li had already checked the city. There were only 2 super mighty warriors in the divinity. One was with Chou Qianjun and the other was the city master. This is a private manor. Sir, please wait. Lu Li walked over. The dozen guards at the gate stopped him nervously. A mighty warrior from the divinity said politely. Buzzing, what answered him was a saber glowing in a black light. Lu Li dodged and flew past more than a dozen people. More than a dozen heads flew up. That mighty warrior from the divinity was shocked. Lu Li had concealed his energy and seemed to be about the same level as him. How could Lu Li kill him in one move? Incoming! From the manor came a shout. Then, many warriors flew up. Chou Qianjun came out from a castle with a pretty girl in disheveled clothes in his arms. Lu Li strode over and made eye contact with Chou Qianjun. Lu Li scratched his face and showed his real face. He said with a smile, "Young Master Chou, do you still remember me after we parted ways at the craftsman's city?" Lu Li. Chou Qianjun yelled in surprise. The hundreds of warriors in the yard and that super mighty warrior from the divinity turned pale. Chapter 1596. Chou Qianjun had a deep impression of Lu Li, not because Lu Li was Patriarch Gu's apprentice or because he met Lu Li years ago. Over the years, Chou Qianjun had been worried that Lu Li would come to kill him. The Palace of Evil Spirit had restricted him from going out. Based on this concern, Chou Qianjun would dream about Lu Li coming to kill him several years ago. Therefore, Chou Qianjun paid special attention to Lu Li and had collected a lot of information about him. Chou Qianjun and the Palace of Evil Spirit had let down their guard since Lu Li never came. That being said, Chou Qianjun was still worried about Lu Li. Today, his worry had come true. Finally, Lu Li had come to avenge Patriarch Gu. Calm down, calm down. Chou Qianjun told himself that he must calm down or he would become a dead body the next moment. There was no need to doubt Lu Li's determination and courage. Even though his great-grandpa was a patriarch of the space-time office, Lu Li had the guts to kill a vice-patriarch of the Hall of Combat of the Craftsman's sect. Why would Lu Li care about a young master of the Palace of Evil Spirit? Chou Qianjun stopped those around him from acting recklessly. Taking a deep breath, he said, "Lu Li, can we talk?" Seeing that nobody moved, Lu Li shrugged and said, "Really? What do you want to talk about?" Phew. Seeing that Lu Li was calm, Chou Qianjun felt a glimmer of hope. He told himself to calm down and not to do anything rash. Raising his hand, Chou Qianjun said, "Go down and stand still. I want to talk to young Master Lu." The others didn't dare to act rashly. They all went down. Chou Qianjun went down as well. The girl in his arms looked at Lu Li in horror. This was the famous god of slaughter. How many people had he killed? If the situation wasn't good today, wouldn't the entire city be massacred by him? She would die and her family would be wiped out. Chou Qianjun forced a smile after he came down. Cupping his fists, he said, "Young Master Lu, I only want to live. Can you spare my life? Anything is negotiable." Lu Li had been checking with psychic power. Making sure that nobody was coming and that nobody inside was doing anything, Lu Li said with a smile, "Anything is negotiable? Then I will tell you what I want." Chou Qianjun clenched his teeth and cupped his fists. 3 conditions. Lu Li thought about it and said, "First, you kneel and kowtow to me 10 times. Second, give me 100 billion divine sources. Third, give me the girl next to you. How was it? It's not too much, right?" Before Chou Qianjun could react, the face of the woman beside him turned pale. She grabbed Chou Qianjun nervously and said, "Qianjun, no, you can't give me to him, no," smack. Chou Qianjun slapped him and shouted angrily, "Shut up." The woman was slapped to the ground. She didn't dare to say anything and could only sob softly. Chou Qianjun's eyes flickered as he remained silent. After 5 minutes, he raised his head and said, "The first and third conditions are not a problem. As for the second condition, I'm afraid the Earth Emanations Palace is unable to produce 100 billion divine roots." Ah? That young lady trembled. She looked at Cho Qianjun in disbelief. He said that he loved her and would marry her. But now, he was going to give her to Luli? That was Luli, the god of slaughter. For average girls, Luli was more like a devil, a demon. The thought of being tortured by Luli day and night made the pretty young lady tremble in fear. Luli threw the young lady a glance. He put on a sarcastic smile. Looking up at Cho Qianjun, he said, "How about you kowtow to me first? 1,000. If I am in a good mood, maybe I will give you less." Kowtow? Cho Qianjun was filled with grief and indignation. Never in his life had he been humiliated like this. If it were someone else, he would have started a fight right away. But Luli was like a mountain that Cho Qianjun could only look up to. He could not even think of fighting back. Luli had killed super mighty warriors in the divinity as if they were pigs and dogs. They could not hurt Luli even if they tried to fight back. "Okay, I will." Cho Qianjun made up his mind and shouted. He told himself that a man should know when to yield and when to stand tall. As long as he was alive, he would have a chance to get back at Luli. He swore to himself that he would make him pay for today's humiliation 100 times over. Plop! He dropped to his knees and kowtowed to Luli again and again. His head banged so hard that the bluestone slabs were cracked. His face was emotionless, but in his eyes there was humiliation that he could not hide. The servant had to die when the master was humiliated. There were hundreds of warriors and a super mighty warrior in the divinity. They were all from the palace of evil spirit. Their eyes were spitting fire to see their young master being humiliated. They were supposed to die first when their master was humiliated. However, under such circumstances, if they dared to fight back or even say a word, Cho Qianjun would be killed right away. Bang bang bang! Cho Qianjun kept kowtowing. There was a dent on his forehead. Luli stood there, emotionless. In his mind, he did see Patriarch Gu's stern face. "Master, can you see that?" Luli looked up into the sky, hoping that Patriarch Gu could see it from heaven. As a matter of fact, Luli wanted to take Cho Qianjun away, bring him to the Valley of Relics and make him kowtow to Patriarch Gu's grave. However, in that case, Jiang Ruodan might die. Therefore, Luli had to make Cho Qianjun kowtow here. Luli did not want Cho Qianjun to kowtow to him, but to Patriarch Gu and the others. Soon, 1,000 kowtows were done. Cho Qianjun's forehead and hair were covered with mud. He was a dignified man, but now, he was in a sorry state. Looking up at Luli, Cho Qianjun said, "Young Master Lu, are you happy now? Can you give me less divine sources?" "Sure." Luli nodded and said, 100 million less. Give me 99. 9 billion divine sources from the palace of evil spirit and I will spare your life. 99, 9 billion divine sources? The warriors were stunned. Then, their expressions changed. Their eyes were spitting fire. 1,000 kowtows and only 100 million divine sources? Luli was clearly messing with them. Unless Jiang Yi sold off the Earth Emanations Palace, how could he possibly get 99? 9 billion divine roots? Luli was messing with them and humiliating Cho Qianjun. He had no intention of letting Cho Qianjun go. An idea came to Cho Qianjun's mind. Then, he flew into a rage. Killing intent surged out from him. A saber appeared in Cho Qianjun's hand as he shouted, "Luli, you have gone too far. Do it. Bite off a piece of his flesh even if you have to die." Buzzing, Luli acted earlier than them. He waved his hand and an invisible force of space pressed down. Everyone in the yard could not move. Bite off a piece of flesh? Do you think you are qualified? Luli grinned coldly. Then, he took out the wicked bead. Many semi-transparent worms flew out and entered Cho Qianjuan's body. Looking up to the sky, Lu Li said, "Master, I have avenged you. Worms of the void, do it," Lu Li ordered. The worms of the void in Cho Qianjuan's body began to move. Chapter 1597. One breath ago, he was alive and well, a respected young master. In a blink of an eye, he had turned into a skeleton. Lu Li didn't seem to have done anything. Everyone was scared silly, and there was complete silence. Everyone thought they were hallucinating. It was not until the pretty lady let out a scream that woke them up. Whoosh! Lu Li waved his hand. The worms of the void dashed toward that divinity super mighty warrior. This time, Lu Li did not do it himself. He wanted to test the abilities of the worms of the void. The worms of the void were intangible and were not affected by the force of space. They flew over quickly and reached the divinity super mighty warrior. Those worms, the divinity super mighty warrior was terrified. He just realized that Cho Qianjun had died to those worms. He tried to move, but Lu Li waved his sleeve. Even more horrifying force of space came down. The super mighty warrior could not move at all. The worms of the void were intangible. Even though the divinity super mighty warrior was protected by a supreme relic armor, the worms of the void could pierce through the armor as easily as they did to Cho Qianjuan's body. What happened next was simple. The worms of the void gnawed at the man. First, the man's head was eaten. Then, the man's body disappeared, leaving only bones. They are splitting? Seeing that the worms of the void had stopped moving and were splitting up, Lu Li put away all the worms of the void with a glow. The worms of the void were small in size. If the energy was too strong, the worms of the void would split up. The bodies of the super mighty warriors in the divinity contained powerful energy. Therefore, the worms of the void could split up directly. After all the worms of the void were taken away, Lu Li used psychic power to check and exclaimed. The worms of the void were about to die from the poison. However, after the dragon's soul dissolved them, they recovered quickly. The poison was neutralized by the worms of the void. Lu Li could not help but admire the worms of the void. Go to hell! Lu Li took out the demon slayer and began to kill. Hundreds were killed easily. Lu Li did not spare the girl either. It was not that Lu Li was bloodthirsty. It was just that the girl saw the worms of the void. Since she was Cho Qianjuan's girl, it was not an injustice. Whoosh, 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 the situation finally attracted the attention of other places in the city. Many powerful warriors were rushing over. A divinity super mighty warrior shouted from the distance, "Young master!" That super mighty warrior from the divinity was the city master. Soon, he saw Lu Li with psychic power. However, he trembled and stopped on the spot. He shouted, "Don't go over there. He is Lu Li." Lu Li? The soldiers and experts who were rushing towards the manor instantly froze on the spot. Lu Li, the god of slaughter, was too famous. He had slaughtered many cities. If Lu Li were to make a move, this city would become a dead city after today. Lu Li had no intention of slaughtering the city, and those warriors were not from the evil spirit palace. Jiang Yi flew up into the air and retrieved a war chariot. He stood on the war chariot as he looked down at the people below and said, "I only have a personal grudge with Cho Qianjun. I have nothing to do with you guys, and I am not targeting the Space-Time Manor or the Earth Emanations Palace. If they will not, they and they will, they and they will, if they and they will. And if they. Whoosh, Lu Li flew away in the chariot. There were at least hundreds of thousands of warriors in the city. However, none dared to stop him, let alone go after him. Civilians in the city were terrified as well. They were relieved when they were sure that Lu Li was gone. Some even peed in their pants. Luli was so famous as the god of slaughter that he could kill a city at the drop of a hat. Quick, report to the Palace of Evil Spirit and the Space-Time Office. The city master yelled. He waved his hand and said, "All super mighty warriors in the divinity, come with me. We cannot let Luli escape even if we cannot kill him." The city master went after Luli with a group of super mighty warriors in the divinity. But they were not fast. Clearly, the city master was afraid that the Palace of Evil Spirit would hold him accountable. He was just putting on a show. He wouldn't dare to go after Luli even if he had 100 times the courage. Otherwise, why didn't he move just now? Soon, Luli vanished without a trace. The city master came back after a couple of hours. When he came back to the city, he saw the master of the Palace of Evil Spirit and a patriarch of the Space-Time Office, Cho Qianjuan's great-grandpa. The news spread quickly. Luli reappeared after a period of silence. Instead of killing the branch forces of the craftsman's sect, he killed the young master of the Palace of Evil Spirit. If Luli were just an average young master, it would not cause such a stir. The problem was that Cho Qianjun was the young master of the Palace of Evil Spirit, one of the 72 sections. The Palace of Evil Spirit was a branch force of the Space-Time Office. Cho Qianjuan's great-grandpa was a patriarch of the Space-Time Office. Was Luli declaring war on the Space-Time Office? Naturally, such a piece of shocking news spread fast. In just one day, it had reached many cities nearby and then snowballed to all sides. The Space-Time Office did not give any response. However, Cho Qianjuan's great-grandpa said that Luli must be killed. At the same time, the Palace of Evil Spirit declared that Luli would become their sworn enemy. Luli's words in the city were heard. Many people were disappointed. Luli was only targeting Cho Qianjun, not the Space-Time Office. Many people wanted to watch the show. If Luli fought against two super forces by himself, how interesting would that be? They wanted to watch a show. The more exciting it was, the better. Luli's words were intentional. He wanted to numb the Space-Time Office. He didn't want them to be alarmed, and he didn't want Zhuo Qiuyan to change his route. If Zhuo Qiuyan didn't leave the Space-Time City, then Luli couldn't do anything to him. Luli was not so arrogant as to go to the Space-Time City to kill people. Luli disguised himself and teleported to the City of Light. But he changed his route from time to time so that he wouldn't attract attention. Because of the Palace of Evil Spirit, many powerful scouts had been teleported here. It was normal that Luli kept teleporting. He didn't attract any attention. After a day and a half, Luli arrived at a small city near the City of Light. He didn't go to the City of Light rashly. What if there were more than one supreme warrior from the divinity in the city? He must gather some information before he went. The news of the wedding of the young master of the City of Light had spread out. Recently, many people in the city were talking about it. Luli had acquired a lot of information easily. Zhuo Qiuyan was here. He came yesterday. He showed up in public and met some people. Zhuo Qiuyan was the most powerful warrior of the young generation of Space-Time Office. He was known as a playboy. What troubled Luli was, today, Space-Time Office sent over a patriarch, a supreme warrior from the divinity. Even though he had said publicly that killing Cho Qianjun had nothing to do with Space-Time Office was still cautious. They sent over a supreme warrior from the divinity to protect Zhuo Qiuyan. Should I go or not? Luli was in a dilemma. If he didn't go now, who knew if he would have another chance in the future? Chapter 1598. Go. After some hesitation, Luli decided to take the risk and go to the City of Light. He was not in direct conflict with the Space-Time Office, so they wouldn't expect him to kill Zhuo Qiuyan. After all, he had no quarrel with Zhuo Qiuyan, and he would not provoke the Space-Time Office for no reason. What was more, he had killed Cho Qianjun. Theoretically speaking, he should be hiding instead of going to the City of Light to kill Zhuochuyan. In this way, the Spacetime Office wouldn't know where he was. Then, the City of Light would only have one supreme warrior in the divinity. Luli would be fine as long as he was careful. For the sake of safety, Luli decided to disguise himself and sneak into the City of Light quietly. Then, he would find Zhuochuyan and run away after he killed him. Disguising himself was easy. Luli learned that a family patriarch of a small family was going to the City of Light. Luli snuck into the small family and knocked out the family patriarch. He threw him into the wicked bead and took away the family patriarch's invitation and ID token. Today was the wedding day of the City of Light's young master. Zhuochuyan would be there. Luli did not teleport over. He went outside the city and entered the city from the north gate. Because of the invitation, Luli disguised himself as a mighty warrior in the divinity. The warriors outside the Castle of Light didn't question him. Luli entered the castle easily and was arranged to sit on a golden table in the plaza. Luli was disguised as a middle-aged man with thick eyebrows and big eyes. He looked strong and rough. The ones sitting next to him were mighty warriors in the divinity as well. They didn't recognize Luli. "Who is this?" an old man asked. Luli took a look and said with a smile, "Lord, you are forgetful. We met last time." That old man was a bit embarrassed. Then, he laughed and said, "Oh, it is you. I remember now." The other mighty warriors in the divinity were indifferent to Luli, seeing that he had no intention to greet them. They talked to each other in a low voice and paid no attention to Luli. Luli drank by himself, waiting for the ceremony to begin and for Zhuochuyan to show up. Xie, the young master of the City of Light, had come out a while ago. He was a dignified young master with good abilities. He had reached the level of a mighty warrior in the divinity. But he was arrogant. He would only entertain some big shots. He didn't even bother to greet someone like Luli. He seemed to have overindulged in alcohol and women. His face was pale and his eyes were unfocused. Today was his wedding day, but his gaze kept drifting towards the beautiful young lady. The Snow Mountain Palace's holy maiden has arrived. Misty Rain Pavilion's 12th young master arrives. A voice came from outside the castle. Luli was surprised. Why were they here? Could they be friends with the young city lord of Light City? Many stood up to greet him, but Luli didn't. He just threw them a casual glance. When he saw Lu Shi and Xie chatting and Holy Princess bowing coldly, Luli knew that they were just here to show their support as members of the 72 sections. Luli didn't intend to greet them. Zhuochuyan hadn't come out yet. If he was recognized now, then he would be in trouble. Moreover, he was here to kill today. Reuniting with the two of them would only implicate them. What a coincidence! Their seats were not far from Luli's. When Lu Shi sat down, he gave them a casual look. He cupped his fists and greeted them. He did not recognize Luli. Holy Princess threw him a glance. Luli did not even look at them. However, when Holy Princess looked at him, she suddenly paused. There was a glint of hesitation in her pretty eyes. Luli was taken aback. He had disguised himself thoroughly. His body had changed a bit, making him taller. Only supreme warriors in the divinity could see through his mask. How could Holy Princess see through it? After a moment of absent-mindedness, Holy Princess looked away. Some young masters came over to greet Lu Shi and Holy Princess. When they looked at Holy Princess, their eyes were filled with passion. It had been years since they last met. Holy Princess was no longer young and inexperienced. She had become more feminine. In particular, the coldness in her bones, which kept people at a distance, attracted men's desire to conquer. What was easy to get was not worth cherishing. The more they could not have, the more they wanted. All men had the desire to conquer. If they could melt the Ice Queen's heart, many men would feel a sense of achievement. Even the young master of the city, Xie, came over. He toasted in person and said many flirtatious words. He was waiting for Holy Princess to leave. After a while, the flies finally left. All of a sudden, Holy Princess stood up and toasted to those nearby, which surprised Lu Shi and the others. Why was Holy Princess in such a good mood today? She did not have to toast to others. I think I still have some doubts, Lu Li sighed to himself. Holy Princess was toasting to him. She toasted to others to fool others. As he had expected, after toasting for half a round, Holy Princess walked to Lu Li. She picked up her glass and said, "Lord, you look familiar. Have we met before?" Lu Li stood up and picked up a goblet. "I remember, I think. I met you outside the tomb of King Luna." Lu Shi was surprised. Then, his eyes glowed with excitement. Lu Li threw him a glance to stop Lu Shi from coming over. Lu Li finished his goblet and sat down coldly. He turned to Holy Princess and said, "Holy Princess, don't drink too much. Many people will come to toast to you later. I heard that even the space-time office will send some big shot." "Okay." Holy Princess trembled. She went back to her seat. She and Lu Shi looked at each other. Both of them seemed to be troubled. Lu Li was here and he mentioned the space-time office. He must be here for them. Something big was about to happen. "Let's go." Lu Li gestured for them to leave. Lu Shi looked at Holy Princess, but she did not move. Lu Shi forced a smile. "Patriarch Qi of Space-Time Office and young Master Zhuo are here." More than half of the people in the plaza stood up as the announcement was made. One of them was a Patriarch of Space-Time Office, a supreme warrior in the divinity. The other one was the leader of the young generation and the favorite grandson of Zhuo, the Deputy Chief of Space-Time Office. Lu Li stood up as well. He moved closer to Zhuo with a smile. Was he trying to make friends with Zhuo? At the same time, many insects under Lu Li's feet burrowed into the ground. Zhuo must have some kind of treasure to protect himself. Lu Li planned to kill him in one fell swoop. Patriarch Qi and Zhuo stood side by side. They glanced over the crowd. Patriarch Qi was here to protect Zhuo. As for the others, he did not bother to deal with them. "What?" When Patriarch Qi saw Lu Li, he was taken aback. He noticed that Lu Li was wearing a mask. The face under the mask was somewhat familiar. "Oh no!" Like an infuriated lion, Patriarch Qi's mane stood up. A glint of killing intent rose in his eyes. A saber appeared in his hand at once. He was filled with killing intent as he shouted, "Lu Li!" Patriarch Qi's roar was so deafening that people's eardrums hurt. Many people passed out. Zhuo was confused as well. He asked in surprise, "Grandpa Qi, who is Lu Li?" Chapter 1599. Lu Li said it was too late because the worms of the void under his control had entered Zhuo's body. Not just one or two, but hundreds of thousands. Zhuo had already noticed it. He felt something had entered his body. He took a look inside himself and his face turned ghastly pale. Seeing that Patriarch Qi was about to take action, Zhuo reacted quickly at the critical moment. He yelled, "Grandpa Qi, don't move. Lu Li, don't do anything rash. Let's talk this out. Nobody move." Zhuo was smart and he reacted quickly. He knew that as soon as Patriarch Qi moved, Lu Li would kill him with the worms. Therefore, Zhuo stopped Patriarch Qi in time and talked to Lu Li, hoping that Lu Li would accept the negotiation. Hearing Lu Li's name, a commotion broke out. Some young ladies screamed in fear and ran around. It was a mess. That being said, Zhuo's words were deterring enough. Strangely, at that moment, everyone quieted down. Those around Lu Li were either ready to run or to take out their weapons. At this moment, none of them moved. They stared at Lu Li with alertness and nervousness. Patriarch Qi and Zhuochuyan looked at each other. Patriarch Qi saw the problem. The murderous intent vanished. Patriarch Qi shouted, "Nobody move. Luli, we can talk." Luli stood behind the crowd, 2,000 feet away from Patriarch Qi and Zhuochuyan. Through the crowd, Luli and Patriarch Qi looked at each other. Luli didn't even look at Zhuochuyan. Buzzing, his wicked bead glowed. 3 hills came out and flew around him. At the same time, he took out the demon slayer. He asked, "What do you want to talk about?" There was nothing to talk about. Luli was determined to kill Zhuochuyan. He would not change his mind even if the space-time office offered him 100 billion divine sources. He wanted to talk because he wanted Zhuochuyan to think that the matter was negotiable. In this way, he could leave at ease. Zhuochuyan said, "Luli, we don't hate each other, do we? Why did you attack me? I don't think space-time office is against you. We didn't do anything even when you killed Cho Qianjun. Why do you want to do this to me?" Zhuochuyan was a proud man, even condescending. If it were someone else, he wouldn't speak in such a humble manner. For one thing, Luli was too famous. For another, his life was in Luli's hands. Although he didn't know what those bugs were, he had a feeling that Luli could easily kill them. He had a saint-grade defensive armor, but it was a pity that it couldn't withstand the insects' attack. He regretted asking his grandfather for a grand spirit heavenly treasure if he knew this would happen. Zhuochuyan's expression grew even more unsightly when he sensed numerous worms entering his head. He looked at Elder Qi with a pleading gaze while despair appeared in his eyes. Worms of the void, Elder Qi sent his spiritual will in and easily locked onto that worm. His face turned extremely ugly. Luli's worms. Li was. There was no time to think about this. He took a deep breath and said, "Luli, killing Little Flame will do you no good. You can state your terms and I will make the decision on behalf of the Spacetime Office." As a patriarch of Spacetime Office, Patriarch Qi was showing respect to Luli. Of course, Patriarch Qi was stalling. Everything was negotiable as long as Luli didn't kill Zhuochuyan. Luli should be calmed down first. Spacetime Office would send powerful warriors over soon. Zhuochuyan would be teleported here soon. Let's talk outside. I will be in a passive position if your Spacetime Office teleports powerful warriors here. Luli suddenly flew up and boarded the chariot. Flying toward the north, Luli said coldly, "Young Master Zhuochuyan, come with me. Patriarch Qi, I will kill Zhuochuyan if anyone else comes with me other than you." Luli was ready to negotiate. Patriarch Qi and Zhuochuyan breathed in relief. Everything was fine as long as they could negotiate and stall for some time. What they were worried about was Luli's killing move. Treasures, divine sources, primordial spirits? Those were not a problem. Zhuochuyan could give up anything as long as he could stay alive. Zhuochuyan would give up everything. The priority was to keep Zhuochuyan alive so that Luli could take his time to kill him. Spacetime Office would not sit back and do nothing if Luli dared to lay his hands on Zhuochuyan. Zhuochuyan and Patriarch Qi looked at each other. They flew up and chased after Luli slowly. The warriors were relieved. For them, Luli and Patriarch Qi were the sharpest knives. If the two of them were to fight in the fort, many would lose their lives. Luli is doing this for us. Holy Princess sighed. She and Lu Shur looked at each other. Both of them were confused. She knew very well that if it were not for the two of them, Luli would not have done this. Let's go. Lu Shur looked at Luli from the distance. He was a bit disappointed. He had met Luli, but there was no chance for him to drink and chat merrily. Some people had started to leave. After all, something big had happened and Luli was known as the god of slaughter. What if he massacred the entire city? Of course, many people wanted to stay and watch. They all knew that Spacetime Office would send many powerful warriors over soon. If they could kill Luli and witness the scene, they would have something to brag about in the future. Lu Shur was ready to leave. He knew Lu Li's character very well. Since Lu Li had decided to take action, Zhuo Chuyen was doomed today. The battle was inevitable. Staying here would be dangerous for one thing, and for another, Lu Li would have concerns and it would be difficult for him to use his skills. Whoosh! Holy Princess had figured it out as well. She and Lu Shi flew up and vanished into the distance. More and more people were leaving. Many civilians in the city heard that Lu Li was here. They ran away in fear, fearing that Lu Li would massacre the entire city. Lu Li, Zhuo Chuyen, and Patriarch Qi had flown out of the city. Lu Li stopped on a mountain dozens of miles away from the city. Zhuo Chuyen and Patriarch Qi were standing on another mountain, not far away. Patriarch Qi put a hand on Zhuo Chuyen's shoulder and secretly poured divine energy into Zhuo Chuyen's body, trying to contain the worms of the void. Patriarch Qi said, "Lu Li, we are out now. What do you want to talk about? Name your price. I only want little flame to stay alive. I want a primordial treasure and 100 billion divine sources." Lu Li was demanding an exorbitant price. Patriarch Qi and Zhuo Chuyen's mouths twitched. Space-Time Office didn't have many primordial treasures. Not even Patriarch Qi could get one. Lu Li wanted primordial treasure right off the bat? Given the Space-Time Office's capability, 100 billion divine sources was not a problem. "You don't want to give it to me?" Lu Li flew into a rage since Patriarch Qi did not answer. He controlled all the worms of the void to move. Zhuo Chuyen's eyes were wide open. He felt a sharp pain coming from his head. He shouted in terror, "No, stop!" Patriarch Qi trembled as he watched Zhuo Chuyen's head being eaten at a speed visible to the naked eye. He shouted in terror, "Lu Li, stop! We will give it to you." Too late. Chapter 1600. Zhuo Chuyen must be killed. How to leave after that was not a problem. Just now, Patriarch Qi was focused on Zhuo Chuyen so Lu Li could fly away at once. But Lu Li did not want to let go of the worms of the void. Those worms were strong and Lu Li wanted to take them back. Therefore, if Lu Li wanted to run away, he must kill Patriarch Qi. He who strikes first gains the upper hand will suffer the consequences. When Lu Li was about to kill Zhuo Chuyen, he had begun to plan how to deal with Patriarch Qi. The golden mountain flew up and the green one smashed toward Patriarch Qi. At the same time, Lu Li controlled some worms of the void to sneak into Patriarch Qi's body from underground. Patriarch Qi was a supreme warrior in the divinity. He reacted quickly. Although his heart was still immersed in the panic of Zhuo Chuyen's death, his instinctive awareness of danger still made him react swiftly. He sensed something underground and knew that Lu Li must have used the worms of the void. Patriarch Qi knew that if the worms of the void entered his body, he would die as well. Even if the worms of the void could be contained for now, his abilities would be compromised and he would be killed by Lu Li easily. He had heard that Luo Yi, Grand Master of the Hall of Darkness, was injured by Lu Li. Lu Li was just a super mighty warrior in the divinity, but Patriarch Qi did not treat him as an average warrior. When Lu Li was still a mighty warrior in the divinity, he could already defeat all the super mighty warriors in the divinity. Now that he had reached the level of a super mighty warrior in the divinity, his abilities would soar. Even though there was a fundamental difference between super mighty warriors and supreme warriors in the divinity, it was better to be safe than sorry. Lu Li's means were too strange. Hoi! He swung the saber in his hand and slashed at the green divine mountain flying towards him. It was a splendid move. In the sword Qi, one could faintly see thousands of beasts howling and roaring. It was only one move, but it felt like thousands of beasts were attacking. Bang! The mountain was smashed away for more than 100 feet. Patriarch Chi's saber bounced off and a surge of energy pushed Patriarch Chi back for dozens of feet. How is that possible? Elder Chi's eyes were filled with shock as he stared at the small mountain. The mountain looked inconspicuous. He had thought it was just a piece of average artifact. How could it be so strong? Ha! Luli flew over and took the initiative to attack. While he was releasing spatial force, Luli was not trying to suppress Patriarch Chi. Instead, he was trying to slow down Patriarch Chi. At the same time, his demon slaughtering blade slashed down heavily, and a blade light lit up the sky. Then, it turned twice in the air, and an even more terrifying spatial energy pressed down, causing Elder Chi to be slightly moved. Ghost King Slash. Such a strange attack was very easy to recognize. How could Elder Chi and the others not pay attention to the famous killer moves of the powerhouses in history? He could tell at a glance. He felt his movement speed slow down, and his expression became extremely ugly. This was because he discovered that the light in the sky had dimmed, and a huge mountain range was already pressing down on him. Patriarch Chi had an idea. He decided to attack Luli on his own initiative. If Luli didn't defend himself, he would die for sure when he used his killing move. If he defended, he would have a chance to escape. He suddenly hacked at Luli and a ray of black sword light whooshed out. The ray of sword light was long and large, and contained tens of thousands of beasts. Before the ray of sword light could get close, Luli could already feel the horrifying energy enveloping him, making him feel cold. Ha! Luli did not step back, nor did he stop the Ghost King Slash. The other mountain behind him whooshed over, enlarged, and stood in front of Patriarch Chi. The three mountains could be used for both offense and defense. They were very close to the primordial chaos treasure. If all 5 mountains could be gathered together, then it would be the real primordial chaos treasure. To Lu Li's surprise, the ray of sword light went through the mountains. Lu Li's pupils contracted as he realized what was going on. The ray of sword light was not a regular attack, but a soul attack. Otherwise, it could not have gone through the mountains. Soul attack? The soul of dragon is counting on you. Lu Li could not step back now because he was about to defeat Patriarch Chi. If he were to stop now, then Patriarch Chi might dodge, which would make it harder for Lu Li to defeat Patriarch Chi. Supreme warriors in the divinity were too fast. If Lu Li could not defeat Patriarch Chi in one go, he might not have the chance later. Whoosh! The dark ray of sword light went into Lu Li's body. At the same time, Lu Li's Ghost King Slash landed on Patriarch Chi. The golden mountain pressed down. Boom! The whole ground trembled violently, forming a deep pit. The nearby ground was fluctuating layer by layer, and even the walls of Light City hundreds of miles away were shaking. Countless low-level martial artists in the city knelt on the ground in horror, praying to the Lord God. Okay. When the ray of sword light entered Lu Li's body, it turned into a surge of horrifying energy that penetrated into Lu Li's soul. However, the soul of dragon came out in an instant, stopped all the energy and began to devour it. Making sure that his soul was fine, Lu Li used psychic power to check. When he saw that Patriarch Chi was being suppressed, a cruel grin appeared on Lu Li's face. Coldness grew in his eyes. At first, Lu Li only wanted to defeat Patriarch Chi. But now, he changed his mind. He had decided to kill a supreme warrior in the divinity to awe the divinity, the craftsman's sect and the space-time office. A patriarch of a town shouldn't be enough to hurt the space-time office. Therefore, they wouldn't resort to their trump card. Lu Li could deal with average means. Once he killed a supreme warrior in the divinity, the space-time office and the craftsman's sect might hold back. Maybe things could take a turn? Worms of the void, do it. Lu Li ordered the worms of the void hiding underground. Patriarch Chi was suppressed by the mountain. He could not move at all. He had become a live target. Hundreds of thousands of worms of the void flew over and swarmed into Patriarch Chi's body. Patriarch Chi had a holy grade armor, but the worms of the void could turn intangible. They could pierce through Patriarch Chi's body easily. Lu Li, you are doomed. Your entire family is doomed. Patriarch Chi bellowed. He knew he could not survive. The worms of the void were swarming toward his head. He could not stop them. I don't know if I will die or not, but you will soon. Lu Li sneered. Patriarch Chi snorted and shouted, Lu Li, you have no idea how powerful the 4 legendary forces are. You have crossed the line of the Spacetime Office by killing Little Flame and me. Once the Spacetime Office uses their trump card, you will not survive more than a month. Also, your family will be wiped out and wiped from the world. Is that so? Lu Li smiled and said, I have killed Zhuochuyan. I have crossed the line of the Spacetime Office. It doesn't matter if I kill you. Go. Lu Li ordered the worms of the void in his mind. The worms of the void chewed quickly. Soon, Patriarch Chi's head was eaten up. A beautiful white armor and an interspatial ring fell off automatically. Come back. Lu Li flew over. He put away the 3 mountains, the worms of the void, the interspatial ring, and the holy grade armor. He drew a formation in the void with one hand, went through the golden door, and flew away. Yen'er, Brother Chi. Half an hour later, countless people in the City of Light heard a heart-wrenching roar coming from this side. Chapter 1601. Have you heard? The Azura has done something big this time. Azura? You mean Lu Li? About him killing Cho Qianjun? We all know. Cho Qianjun is nothing. He went to the Light City the day before yesterday. He sneaked into the wedding of the young master of the Light City. Guess who did he kill? Who? Is it the young master of the Light City? The Light City is one of the 72 sections. Ha ha, the young master of the Light City is nothing. Did he kill Zhuochuyan and Patriarch Chi? Zhuochuyan and Patriarch Chi, they sound familiar. Wait, Zhuochuyan and Patriarch Chi from Spacetime Office? Yes. Hiss, hiss, is the Azura going to go against nature? How dare he kill Zhuochuyan? He can kill supreme warriors in the divinity now? He is not even 100 years old. Good heavens, the second Azura is here. Everyone was shocked. The entire divinity was stirred up. Almost every city was talking about this. Zhuochuyan had a distinguished status. He was the most powerful warrior of the young generation in Spacetime Office and Zhuochurong's favorite grandson. Who was Zhuochurong? He was the most powerful person in Spacetime Office. The master of Spacetime Office rarely showed up. Zhuochurong had been representing Spacetime Office. Many people believed that he would be the next master of Spacetime Office. The grandson of the future master of Spacetime Office was killed? Wasn't this news explosive enough? Not to mention that a patriarch of Spacetime Office, a supreme warrior in the divinity, was also killed. It had been years since a supreme warrior in the divinity had been killed. That was the most powerful warrior in the divinity. As long as they did not offend the super forces, they could not be killed. Now, he was killed by a young man. The second Azura was here. Back in the days, the Azura was as fierce as this. He slaughtered his way through the divinity. From an average immortal, he became a supreme warrior in the divinity. In the end, he even made it to the top 10 on the list. Unfortunately, he died in a dangerous place. Back in the days, the Azura was believed to have the potential to overthrow the 4 legendary forces. Unfortunately, he died in the end. Now Lu Li was here. He was also rising fast. He had only been a few decades and he could kill a supreme warrior in the divinity. How similar was the Azura? The entire god realm was in an uproar. Many people were extremely excited. It was as if they had done something world-shaking. Luli had done what they didn't dare to do. They were looking forward to Luli continuing to kill until he overturned the 4 super forces. The space-time mansion was enraged. The next day, the space-time office made an announcement. Luli had killed an important warrior of the space-time office for no reason, which would be regarded as a provocation and a declaration of war against the space-time office. The space-time office would try their best to kill Luli and avenge the deceased. On the day the news spread, the Green Valley Mountain Man sat alone in the backyard and drank for half a day, sighing inwardly. He was right about Luli. Luli was a miraculous man who dared to do what others did not. However, considering that Luli would be surrounded and hunted down by 2 superforces, and that the space-time office might have to use their trump card, the warriors of Green Valley Mountain were filled with worry. Luli was not strong enough. Once space-time office resorted to their trump card, Luli would die for sure. The 4th day, a joint announcement was made. The divinity was in an uproar again. The Hall of Esoteric and Cabinet of Mystery had made a joint announcement. The 4 superforces were of the same breath and branch. Since Luli had declared war against the 2 superforces, the Hall of Esoteric and Cabinet of Mystery could not sit by and do nothing. The 4 superforces would work together to hunt down Luli. The 4 superforces offered a huge reward. Anyone who could kill Luli would be rewarded with 100 billion divine sources, and the 4 superforces would guarantee the glory of their families for 10,000 years. Anyone who could find Luli and assist the 4 superforces in killing him would be rewarded with 10 billion divine sources. The ultimate weapon was out. The 4 superforces' goal was clear. They were mobilizing everyone in the divinity to search for Luli. It was too difficult to rely on people from different forces to track him down. They might as well mobilize all the warriors in the divinity. Everyone was an enemy. Wherever Luli hid, there would be enemies. He could give himself away at any time. Many people would try their best to find Luli. Since ancient times, there were many powerful warriors among the common people. What if someone could find Luli and kill him? For many people, 100 billion divine sources was a mountain of gold. The 4 superforces would work together to guarantee the glory of their families for 10,000 years. This was tempting. When the news spread out, the entire divinity was turned upside down. Luli became the target of scorn. If it were not for the fact that he had a strange human skin mask, he would have been found immediately. I can't stay in the divinity anymore. Luli saw the announcement in a small city. He made up his mind at once. If he stayed in the divinity any longer, he would get into trouble sooner or later. It was not a joke to turn every citizen into a soldier. He could be found out if he was not careful. There were too many powerful warriors in the world. But where should he go? Luli was troubled. The world was a big place, but there was no place for him. Go back to the land of Yuyen? He had made such a big scene in the divinity. The news must have spread in the land of Yuyen. If he disappeared from the divinity, many people would suspect that he had gone back to the land of Yuyen. The land of Yuyen was not friendly to him either. If an immortal king family attacked him, he could die in the land of Yuyen. What was more, the 4 legendary forces would be watching. If someone kept teleporting to the north, they would be alerted. If he was ambushed, he would not even know how he died. To the east, to the sea. In the end, Luli thought of a way out. To the east, he could go to the sea. He could hide in a small island and cultivate there for a few years before coming back. By then, he would be out of the limelight. There were so many people in the divinity. They could not keep searching for years. Having made up his mind, Luli teleported away. His route was erratic as well. There were many people teleporting around recently. Luli hid his energy and only went to a small city. He did not attract too much attention. Even if someone did notice, he would change his disguise from time to time. The mask on his face could change at any time. It would be hard to track him down. He teleported all the way to the north and then to the south. His route could not be locked down. It took Luli more than half a month. He teleported day and night. Finally, he arrived at the residence of Silver Dragon. To the east, he would be at the sea. There were many places to go to the sea. Out of instinct, Luli teleported here. There was a mountain of dragons in the residence of Silver Dragon. There was a girl there, his sister. He did not go to the mountain of dragons. He was afraid that someone would be watching over there. He only glanced at a small city from afar, then quickly teleported there. At the seaside, Luli took out a map and took a look. This area was called the Demon Area. There were many islands here. It was said that some ancient races lived here. There were horrifying beings in the sea as well. This island. Luli picked a random route. He was going to the sea to cultivate. Any random island would do. This would give Chi Shear a few years of stability. Buzzing, he sent Chi Shear out from the wicked bead. She took a look and her eyes glowed. She grabbed Luli's arm and asked, "Brother, where is this?" "The ends of the earth." Chapter 1602. The four supreme forces had joined forces to make an announcement and offer a huge bounty. This actually meant one thing. It meant that neither the Spacetime Office nor the Craftsman's sect had used their trump cards or hidden forces. Otherwise, they wouldn't have issued an announcement. If they could kill the Slayer easily, it would be easy for them to kill Luli. The divinity was bustling for a while. After Luli went to the sea for half a month, the divinity quieted down. So many people in the divinity were looking for Luli, but to no avail. It could only mean two things. Either Luli's hiding skills were unparalleled and nobody could find him, or Luli was no longer in the divinity. He had fled to the land of serenity or some dangerous place. Of course, many people were still searching. After all, to find Luli and help the four forces to kill him would be a reward of 10 billion divine sources. The four forces were on the move as well. Unfortunately, after more than half a month, they found nothing. Luli's anti-tracking ability and his ability to hide his identity were impressive. Of course, it was also because the divinity was vast and there were too many immortals. The divinity was like a pond with all kinds of people. It was difficult to find one person. The mask given by Pan Yuchin was a piece of treasure. Not even the super mighty warriors in the divinity could see through Luli's face. Only the super forces had such items. A month later, the four forces felt they had been slapped in the face by Luli. The four forces had sent out many people and offered a reward of 100 billion. Still, they could not find Luli. If they could not find him in a month, they could not find him in a year or even 10 years. As long as Luli was not killed, the four forces would continue to be humiliated. However, Luli did not harm the foundation of the four forces. Therefore, they could not use their trump cards. They had to keep sending people to search. Luli was deep in the sea. He had been flying for 5 days. His destination was a famous island in the sea, the Stars and Moons Island. According to the introduction on the map, this island used to be a place of exile. Many people who committed crimes in the divinity would go there. The owner of this island was a supreme warrior in the divinity. Luli chose this island because it was more chaotic here. There were many islands nearby. Luli planned to occupy an island and cultivate. If she went to an uninhabited place to cultivate, she would be separated from society and Chi Shi-er would be bored to death. Moreover, he could secretly control some puppets to gather information and monitor the nearby areas. That way, he would feel more at ease living here. Shi-er will be there in half a day. There might be more people here, so put on your mask. Luli looked at the map and told Chi Shi-er. Chi Shi-er had been on Cloud 9 for the past few days. She had never seen the sea before. It was her first time seeing the sea and so many strange creatures in the sea. This made her very happy. Chi-Shir put on the mask Luli gave her. Only super mighty warriors in the divinity could see through the mask. Chi-Shir also went into the wicked bead to change. She put on some strange clothes, which made her look more like a girl of an alien race. Luli changed his appearance and dyed his hair. His white hair turned blue and he put on an animal skin cloak, which made him look quite strange. "Brother, why do you have to wear such thick clothes? Aren't you hot?" Chi-Shir was confused to see that Luli was wearing such a thick robe again. Luli pouted and said, "This will make me look more like a criminal. It is different from what I used to look like. It will be harder for people to associate me with my real identity." Chi-Shir nodded and didn't overthink it. Luli, on the other hand, put on a bitter smile. He was becoming more and more afraid of the cold. Therefore, he had to wear more clothes. Though it was pointless to wear thick clothes, at least he would feel warmer. Half a day later, they arrived at the island of stars and moons. Luli put Chi-Shir back into the wicked bead and went into stealth mode to explore the nearby area. This island was not bad. It was indeed quite large, probably half the size of a prefecture. Luli did not go to the island. It was a mixed bag of good and bad people. What if there were spies from the 4 legendary forces? He did not come to the island of stars and moons to settle down. He just wanted to find a small island nearby to cultivate. Therefore, he snuck along the periphery of the island of stars and moons and explored the small islands nearby. There were indeed many islands nearby, over 1,000 in various sizes. But all the islands were occupied, either by a group of people or by a small family or force. Luli explored around the Stars and Moons Island for 5 days. In the end, he chose an island that was neither too large nor too small. This island was occupied by a small force, and the owner was a mighty warrior in the divinity. There were not many people on this island, only about 300. They were all average immortals. Luli chose this island because there were 8 small islands nearby. They could work together to build a strong inhibition formation. Also, the Xian Qi in heaven and earth on this island was not bad and the environment was good, suitable for long-term residence. Luli snuck in after he chose the island. For him, the 300 people on the island made no difference. The inhibition formations on the island were of a low level. Luli snuck into the deepest part of the island. He went into a castle, which was the residence of the owner of the Star Island. Luli snuck in as if he was in a deserted place and stood in front of the owner. The owner of the Star Island was only a mighty warrior in the divinity. He could not see through the cloaking armor. But out of instinct, he sensed danger. He took out his saber and looked around alertly. Buzzing, Luli came out and sat in front of the owner. He poured tea for himself leisurely, not at all aware that he had broken into someone else's home. The owner of the Star Island was a middle-aged man. His hair stood on end. He was tense and his eyes were filled with fear and coldness. The saber in his hand glowed, but he did not make a move. Luli appeared to be a mighty warrior in the divinity, the same as the owner of the Star Island. But the owner of the Star Island had a feeling, if Luli wanted to kill him, it would be a piece of cake. "You should be glad that you didn't do it yourself. Otherwise, you would be a dead man now." Luli drank a cup of tea leisurely, looked up and said with a smile, "You can check your body and see if something strange has entered it." The owner of the Star Island was so nervous that he did not notice anything. The owner of the Star Island checked himself at once and his face turned pale. Something had entered his body, hundreds of bugs. Those bugs were intangible, so he could not feel it. At the moment, those bugs were swarming toward his head. Luli continued with a smile, "Those bugs are called worms of the void. Have you heard of them? I once used them to kill a supreme warrior in the divinity." Worms of the void? Supreme warrior in the divinity? Chapter 1603. Oh? That fast? Luli was surprised, but his smile grew wider. He nodded and said, "You are right. But you should know the consequences of seeing through my identity." Crack, crack, island owner's teeth were chattering and he was trembling. He had seen through Luli's identity, and Luli was going to kill him. Luli was being hunted down by the 4 legendary forces. To keep the secret, silencing him was the safest way. Luli put on a faint smile. He said nothing and just looked at the island owner. The island lord felt that the void worm had completely entered his head and could enter his soul at any time. The fear in his body became even stronger. Plop! He dropped to his knees, kowtowed to Luli and said, "Lord Lu, please spare my life. I have parents and children to take care of. I cannot die. My lord, don't worry. I will not tell anyone about what happened today. I can swear an almighty oath." "No." Luli shook his head and said, "I don't believe in that. For me, there are only 2 ways to keep a secret. One is to die and the other is to become my soul slave." Soul slave? Island owner suddenly understood what Luli meant. Luli hadn't killed him yet. Was he trying to control him? Thinking of Luli's situation, the island owner finally understood. Luli wanted to cultivate on the island and control him, and then the entire island. As long as he was willing to surrender, Luli wouldn't kill him. If he was unwilling to submit, Luli would definitely crush him like an ant. Then, he might even slaughter the entire island. Island owner was hesitating. After all, no warrior would want to be someone's soul slave. It would mean losing freedom, and their life and death would be in the hands of others. Also, it would affect cultivation. All immortals had pride. It was not easy to become an immortal, and it was even harder to become a mighty warrior in the divinity. Who would want to be someone's slave? Ha ha! Luli could tell that island owner was hesitating. He said with a smile, "How long do you think I can stay at the Sea of Demons? What do you think of my character? I can promise you that I will leave in 100 years. By then, you will be free. Also, I can give you something to help you achieve success." "What?" Island owner was surprised. He thought about Luli's information. It was true that people like Luli wouldn't stay anywhere for long. Also, Luli never killed civilians or innocent people. Luli seemed to value relationship. To avenge Patriarch Gu, he would offend Spacetime Office and kill Cho Qianjun? Luli's information was clear here. The warriors here were afraid of the divinity. Therefore, they knew the divinity like the back of their hand. Island owner had enemies in the divinity, and he had been paying attention. Island Master said after he bowed and said, "Guan, Guan, Guan, Guan. All right, hand over your soul seal." Luli nodded, but he was not overjoyed. With his current battle prowess, it was too easy for him to subdue a soul slave. If the owner of this island wasn't willing, he could just go to another island. Luli could put his mind at ease after Guan Yun gave out his soul seal. Luli gave his first order. Guan Yun was to enlist all the islanders as soul slaves. Apart from Guan Yun's family, all were to be enslaved. Guan. Guan, he, Guan, he. At, Guan, Guan, he, Guan, 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 li. At first, Guan Yun wanted to explain that the people on the island were his brothers who had followed him for many years. If someone coveted the bounty and secretly sent a message to the 4 transcendent god forces, they would send a few supremacies from the immortal world to secretly lurk over. If someone was greedy for the reward, he could send a message to the 4 forces and they could send some supreme warriors to Luli. By then, Luli wouldn't even know how he died and everyone on the island would be slaughtered. Following Luli's instructions, Guan Yun called in the island warriors one by one. Those who were willing to give out their soul seals would be enslaved, and those who were unwilling would be killed. Guan Yun followed Luli's instructions and called in all the people on the island. Those who were willing to offer their Guan Yun would make them his soul slave. Those who were unwilling would be killed. Guan Yun enjoyed a high prestige on the island. Of the 300 people, only a dozen were unwilling and Guan Yun killed them. He let Qi Shi'er out and told her to decorate a pavilion by the seaside. That pavilion was Guan Yun's residence. He was going to marry a concubine. Lu Li commandeered it since the environment was good. Lu Li got busy. Guan Yun introduced Lu Li to everyone. He was a powerful warrior he recruited and would become a guardian of Heavenly Star Island. The first thing Lu Li did was to set up a formation. He set up a powerful illusion formation and killing formation to prevent people from sneaking in and spying. Cultivating in seclusion could be done anywhere, but the most important thing was safety. No information could be leaked. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know how he died. After a day, Lu Li set up an illusion formation. Not only could the people outside not get in, but the people inside could not get out either unless they broke the formation by force. Then, Lu Li set up a defense formation and a killing formation to completely seal off the island. He built a one-way teleportation formation in Guan Yun's castle. The only way to get out was through this one-way teleportation formation. In other words, from today on, without his permission, people could only go out of Heavenly Star Island, unless they broke the formation by force. The formation Lu Li set up was not strong, but it could withstand a blow from a supreme warrior in the divinity. Unless the information was leaked, Lu Li would be very safe in there. Lu Li was still worried after all this. It was better to be safe than sorry. Therefore, he had to set up another layer of defense. He ordered Guan Yun to move out with his men and capture the 8 small islands outside. Outside Heavenly Star Island there were 8 small islands. Some were uninhabited and some were occupied by 1 or 2 warriors. The 8 islands had no resources. Guan Yun didn't mind at first. It took Lu Li several days to take over the 8 islands. All the people on the islands were killed. There was a mighty warrior in the divinity who was killed by Lu Li himself. Lu Li got to work again. He began to set up formations on the 8 islands. He built a strong formation of 8 trigrams. This was an illusion formation as well as an entrapment formation. Lu Li could make people lose their way or trap them in there forever. Half a month later, the formation was finished. Lu Li asked Guan Yun to send 2 warriors to each island so that nothing could go wrong. Lu Li built some hidden inhibition formations on the island. Many of them were learned by Blood Fairy from the forbidden ground of Elder God. It was almost impossible for a powerful warrior to sneak in without anyone noticing. Whether the inhibition formations were broken or triggered, Lu Li would know immediately. By then, he could fly to the void at once. Not even a dozen supreme warriors from the 4 super forces would be able to stop him. Given the time for one breath, he could fly away. Lu Li also built a spirit-gathering formation on Heavenly Star Island to enrich the Xian Qi in heaven and earth. Guan Yun and the others were both surprised and delighted. This spirit-gathering formation alone could save the Heavenly Star Island a lot of cultivation materials in a year. Okay, after everything was done, Lu Li went back to the small pavilion by the sea. He saw Qi Shi'er sitting on the balcony with her feet dangling. Looking at her smiling face, Lu Li felt particularly happy. If I can bring Qiling, Qiushue, Xiaoshuang, my sister, and my father to the divinity and find a nice place to live, how wonderful will my life be? Chapter 1604. Qi Shi'er was in a good mood. Most women preferred a peaceful life. They wanted to stay with their loved ones and live a peaceful and happy life together. That was the nature of women. Unlike men, women didn't have strong desires or ambitions. They didn't care about fame or power. Men were born with the desire to conquer. Therefore, most of the powerful warriors would be men. It was rare for women to become powerful warriors. Even though Luli was also cultivating on the island, he said it was absolutely safe here. Chi-Shir was happy to have Luli with her. She smiled happily. There was a formation of illusion on the island, but Luli had expanded it on purpose. Chi-Shir could go to the nearby waters to have fun. Luli also built a small inhibition formation to block psychic power. In this way, Chi-Shir could swim and bathe in the sea. Luli had several people stationed at the Stars and Moons Island to gather information. At the same time, he had people patrolling nearby. Once a strange powerful warrior came, they must report at once. Luli lived on the island quietly for 2 months. Everything was peaceful here. Luli put his mind at ease. During the 2 months, the 4 forces didn't track him down, which meant that they didn't find any clues or know where he had gone. Luli continued to cultivate in peace. Chi-Shir began to cultivate when she was tired. Life was peaceful and happy. Every time Chi-Shir finished cultivation and saw Luli by her side, she would put on a sweet smile. Guan Yun could put his mind at ease. Luli almost never asked about the affairs of the island. He had been in closed-door cultivation. It seemed that Luli was just cultivating and had no intention to take over his island. But on second thought, who was Luli? Would he take over his island? He would go for the Stars and Moons Island. Island owner of the Stars and Moons Island was a supreme warrior in the divinity, but he was not as powerful as Patriarch Chi. If Luli could kill Patriarch Chi, then he could take over the Stars and Moons Island. How could someone of Luli's status be interested in the Stars and Moons Island? Guan Yun didn't seem to suffer any loss. Instead, Luli built a powerful spirit-gathering formation that benefited him and everyone on the island. Also, there were powerful inhibition formations on the island. If Luli had told Guan Yun how to control the inhibition formations before he left, the Stars and Moons Island would be safe. Apart from the island master of the Starry Crescent Island, most people would not be able to break through it. After figuring this out, Guan Yun felt more at ease. He did not think too much about it and focused on cultivating. Half a year passed. Luli was still in closed-door cultivation, but Chi-Shir came out. Now that she had reached the level of an almighty being in the immortal realm, it was impossible for her to break through quickly. She needed time to accumulate. She was still young, and her temperament was not mature enough. She had been cultivating in seclusion on the island all day, so naturally, she would feel a little bored. She got up and went to the beach to have some fun. Luli was in closed-door cultivation, and she didn't even have anyone to talk to. Although Guan Yun had 3 daughters, they were all very old and were all married to martial artists on the island. Moreover, these people all looked at her with awe and respect. She did not want to interact with these people. After walking around the seaside, Chi-Shir returned to the manor, a little annoyed. Luli opened his eyes and looked at Chi-Shir, who was pouting. He looked at her lovingly and said, "What is it? Shir, is it too boring to stay here?" "No," Chi-Shir smiled sweetly and said, "It is okay here. It is beautiful and quiet. I am here with you. Everything is fine." Luli touched her face and said, "It is my fault. Shir, let's go. I will go to the Stars and Moons Island with you. From now on, I will go out with you every couple of months." After cultivating in the black hole of space and time for more than 70 years, Luli had become very mature. He felt the years of closed-door cultivation were like a nap, gone in a blink of an eye. Chi-Shir was still a child, and she could not be as calm as he was. Chi-Shir never had the chance to have fun during the years she was with him. She had been worrying and waiting. Luli stood up and walked out with Chi-Shir. Chi-Shir was happy and worried at the same time. She asked, "Brother, will we bring you trouble if we wander around?" "Ha ha ha." Luli laughed and said, "What trouble can there be at the Stars and Moons Island? The owner of the island is just an average supreme warrior in the divinity. I will not trouble him as long as he doesn't offend me." As for the others, don't worry about them. Okay. Chi-Shir was happy to make sure that she wouldn't bring trouble to Luli. She put on the mask and Luli disguised himself as well. They left the island with 2 warriors of the Star Island and flew to the Stars and Moons Island on the chariot with them. Master, the second largest city of the Stars and Moons Island, the Crescent City, is up ahead. After flying for 6 to 8 hours, a warrior saluted with respect. Luli nodded and flew the chariot down. He put it away and the 4 of them walked toward the city gate. The Crescent City is controlled by the Wang family and the Lu family. There are some small forces in the city. It will be fine as long as we don't offend the Wang family and the Lu family. The 2 families are on good terms with the owner of the Stars and Moons Island. The warrior reported to Luli in a low voice. Luli didn't care. They were just here to have fun and not to make trouble. Besides, even if they did, what could the Crescent City do to him? A warrior led the way and paid the entrance fee. Luli walked into the city with Chi-Shir. Chi-Shir was wearing a mask. She had a seductive temperament which caught many people's attention. But Luli could tell from her appearance that she was a mighty warrior in the divinity. Average people didn't dare to look at her too much or covet her. Luli wandered around the city with Chi-Shir in a low-key manner. They spent the morning shopping and even went to the best restaurant in the city. They continued in the afternoon. Wow, this dress is so pretty. In one of the shops, Chi-Shir saw a long dress. This dress was completely made from a special kind of feather. It was overflowing with light and looked especially dazzling. Lady, you have good taste. The shopkeeper hurried over and said, This dress is called the Dancing Phoenix dress. It is woven with feathers from more than a dozen phoenixes of different colors. There is only one of it on the entire Stars and Moons Island. It is not only a dress but also a piece of treasure. It can block out most of the flames and it can isolate psychic power. The shopkeeper kept talking. Luli saw Chi-Shir's eyes were glowing. He waved his hand and said, Okay, that's enough. Name your price. I will buy the Dancing Phoenix dress. Okay. The shopkeeper grinned. You are a generous man. I will not make an offer. 50 million divine sources. 50 million? Chi-Shir stuck out her tongue. She took Luli's hand and whispered, Brother, it is too expensive. I don't want it. It's okay, Luli patted Chi-Shir's shoulder. He was about to make an offer. At that moment, 3 people came in. One of them said, 50 million divine sources? I will take it. Please wrap it up. What? Luli pulled a long face. He turned around and saw a beautiful lady with 2 maids. The lady looked at Luli and raised her head. She put on a mocking smile as if she was telling Luli, Don't act like a lord if you don't have divine sources. Chapter 1605. Luli was angry. Chi-Shir had been with him for a long time and this was her favorite. He could not tell from Chi-Shir's eyes that she liked the Dancing Phoenix dress. It was not that Luli didn't want to buy it, but the lady cut him off. It just so happened that the shopkeeper ignored him, which made Luli unhappy. If they were in the divinity, Luli would have lost his temper. But he had just settled down here and he didn't want to stir up trouble. Therefore, he suppressed his anger and said, Shopkeeper, do you have 2 of these dresses? The shopkeeper looked back at Luli and said apologetically, I am sorry, sir. The Dancing Phoenix dress is one of a kind. It will take at least 10 years to make another one. Well, madam, you has taken a liking to it. I am sorry. You can choose other dresses and I will give you a discount. Bro, forget it. Chi-Shir pulled Luli's hand again. Luli shook his head and said, We saw this dress first and I didn't say I won't buy it. I will pay 60 million divine sources. Madam, you was surprised. Then she said with mockery, Foreigner, you don't know me? Luli turned around and looked at Madame Yu calmly. Why should I know you? Are you blind? A maid scolded coldly. This is our young lady, the wife of the future master of the Crescent City. If you know what's good for you, get out of the city or you will be in serious trouble. Ha ha ha. Luli laughed. Qi Shir, who was standing next to him, grew solemn. She knew Luli very well. He was enraged to the extreme. Today there would be no peaceful ending. As she expected, Luli glared at the maid coldly. Killing intent spread out from him. At that moment, the maid felt she was looking at an enraged beast. She felt cold from head to toe. She shivered, and her body trembled as she exclaimed, What are you doing? You will die if you dare to mess around in the Crescent City. You will be cut into pieces and your woman will be sold to brothels. She will. Slap. Luli made a move. He rarely hit women, but this time, he had to. He would not allow anyone to profane Qi Shir. He held back his strength in this slap, and the servant girl flew out and rolled on the street. Her mouth was dripping with blood, and her head was split open. The lady's expression changed. Even if you wanted to beat a dog, you had to look at its owner. Luli was going to make trouble. Her realm was not bad, having reached the level of an almighty being of the immortal world. The armor on her body immediately appeared, and she retreated with lightning speed. At the same time, she shouted, Old Lu! Whoosh! Before she could say anything, a man flashed out like a ghost and stood in front of Madame Fish. He looked at Luli coldly and a spear appeared in his hand. The spear was glaring in a dark glare. Luli ignored the man and turned to the shopkeeper. His ring glowed and 50 million divine sources appeared. Calmly, Luli looked at the shopkeeper and said, Wrap up the dress, or else, you will die immediately. This. Milord, this. The shopkeeper was frightened. How dare Luli make a move against a maid of Madame Yu? Wasn't he courting death? After the fight, he still wanted to buy the Phoenix dance dress. Was this person heartless, or did he want to drag him down with him? Whoosh, 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 whooshing sounds could be heard from the streets in the distance. It was clear that countless soldiers and experts were rushing over. Luli turned a deaf ear to the shopkeeper. He kept staring at the shopkeeper, who felt a chill run down his spine. Qi Shir, on the other hand, calmed down. Given Luli's abilities, he could defeat the entire Crescent City without any pressure. If he wanted to play, then so be it. Worst came to worst, they could move to another place to live in seclusion. Qi Shir felt sweetness in her heart. Luli was doing this for her. The man she loved was willing to go against a major family in the city and kill all the powerful warriors in the city for her. Any woman would be touched. Buzzing, Luli took out a spear, which was also a supreme relic weapon. The demon slayer could be easily recognized. Therefore, Luli took out this spear. Pointing at the shopkeeper with the spear, Luli said, I will count to 3. If you don't wrap up the dress, I will send you to hell. 1, 2, the shopkeeper was scared. He wrapped up the dress with trembling hands. Madame Yu was about to burst into flames. But that Lu didn't do anything. He didn't ask any warriors to do anything either. Lu had a feeling that if he dared to do anything, he would be killed in an instant. Even though the lady was surrounded by a group of warriors, she didn't feel safe either. Luli's killing intent was too horrifying. She crushed a jade talisman as soon as she got out. She kept looking to the north, hoping that her husband would come with powerful warriors to help. Let's go. Putting away the Phoenix dance dress, Luli held Qi Shir's hand and walked out. Qi Shir was wearing a mask so her face could not be seen. But her eyes were calm. As long as Luli was holding her hand, she would be fearless even in hell. Luli walked over and made eye contact with Lu. The latter stepped back slowly and told the warriors outside to move away as well. Luli walked to the street with Qi Shir. Looking at the hundreds of warriors, he raised his spear, looked at the lady and said, Madame Yu, are you trying to make a scene? If you want to do this, then I am sorry. I rarely kill women. I hope you are not an accident. Madame Yu was scared by Lu Li's cold eyes. But when she saw several people running over, she somehow felt emboldened. She sneered and said, "You want to kill me? Are you sure you can? Who are you? How dare you make trouble at the Crescent City?" From the other end of the street, a young man in a luxurious robe walked over in strides. He looked young and had an extraordinary bearing. He stared at Lu Li and shouted coldly, "You want to kill my wife? If you are sure, you can have a try." The young man in a luxurious robe had 2 old warriors with him. They were both super mighty warriors in the divinity. They had their eyes on Lu Li and were ready to take action at any time. This was where the young man in a luxurious robe got his confidence. Lu Li smiled and asked, "Are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want me to kill someone?" Madame Yu sneered. 2 super mighty warriors from the divinity were here. How could Lu Li be so arrogant? She said coldly, "Come on, if you can kill me, I will admit that you are good. Come on." Before the lady could finish her words, her eyes were filled with terror as if she had seen a ghost in broad daylight. She collapsed to the ground. Blood came out from her eyes and nose. "She died just like that. You!" The young master shouted in terror. He dropped to one knee and held Madame Yu in his arms. He could not believe his eyes. He thought he was hallucinating. His wife was not dead. Everything in front of him was just an illusion. What? The 2 super mighty warriors from the divinity were shocked. They stood in front of the young master at once. They had been watching Lu Li with psychic power and didn't see him do anything. How could their lady die like this? Was it a soul attack? Lu Li pointed at the young master with his spear and said, "Make way or I will kill my way out. Even if all the experts in your city were to come, they wouldn't be able to stop me, let alone this small number of people." Chapter 1606. Lu Li had made up his mind. If they were going to make a scene, then he would kill his way out. Worst came to worst, he could find another place. This was not the only group of islands in the Sea of Demons. He could find another place. Lu Li's way of killing the lady was simple. He just sent hundreds of worms of the void into her head. The lady was a mighty warrior in the divinity, but she was just an embroidered pillow with little practical experience. She didn't even notice when the worms of the void sneaked into her head. Lu Li did not release all of his energy. He pointed his spear at the young master. His face and eyes were calm as if he was facing a bunch of low-level immortals. He didn't even put Qi Shear in. For him, the mighty warriors in the divinity were nothing. He could defeat them easily. The young master was not a good-for-nothing. He could tell from Lu Li's body that he was suffocating. He had faced many powerful warriors, and he could tell from Lu Li that he was a powerful warrior. The 2 super mighty warriors in the divinity felt it the most. The Sea of Demons was a chaotic place. Powerful warriors from the divinity would come and fight for territory. The 2 super mighty warriors in the divinity were used to fighting, and they had an instinctive sense of danger. They felt Lu Li was dangerous, as if they were facing a supreme warrior in the divinity. However, Lu Li was young, and he seemed to be a mighty warrior in the divinity. Of course, there were many strange skills in the divinity. Life energy could be disguised, not to mention combat energy. Powerful warriors could hide their energy and disguise themselves. The 2 super mighty warriors in the divinity looked at the young master. Their intention was clear. Whether or not to fight depended on the young master. "Make way!" The young city lord gritted his teeth and growled. Many soldiers looked puzzled. Lu Li had killed their young madam. How could the young master give in so easily? This was not like him. What was more, if he gave in this time, what prestige would he have left? "Make way!" The young master shouted in a sullen voice. The warriors on the other side of the street had to move to the sides to make way for the young master. But they were still glaring at Luli coldly. Many were surprised. Luli was just a mighty warrior in the divinity. Why would they make way for him? Let's go. Luli smiled at Chi-Shir. Holding her hand, he turned around and walked forward. He didn't care about the two super mighty warriors of the divinity staring at him from behind. Chi-Shir smiled. Even though she was surrounded by warriors, she was not afraid at all. She followed Luli step by step. The two's footsteps were very light, as if they were taking a stroll on Heavenly Star Island. Luli walked out of the city, followed by the warriors. The young city master and the two super mighty warriors from the divinity followed them as well. Luli put on a sarcastic smile. It seemed like the young city lord was not afraid, but wanted to go out of the city to fight. It was understandable. Luli and the two super mighty warriors from the divinity were too strong. One wrong move and the city could be leveled to the ground. Countless civilians in the city would die a tragic death. The wife of the young city lord was killed. How could he let this go? Even if he didn't take revenge, he had to maintain his dignity as the young city lord. Otherwise, how would he be able to suppress the other heroes in the future? Outside the city, Luli continued to walk forward with Chi-Shir. Behind him, warriors swarmed out. The young city lord came out with the two super mighty warriors from the divinity. Luli walked on as if no one was around. At the seaside, he turned around and said to Chi-Shir with a smile, "You go in first. I will deal with these flies first." "Brother, be careful." Chi-Shir smiled. Luli took out the wicked bead and put her away. Then, he turned around and looked at the approaching warriors. Looking at the young city lord, Luli asked, "Do we have to fight? I am afraid you can't afford the result." After a pause, the young city lord asked, "Sir, can you tell me your name?" Luli shook his head. After a moment of silence, the young master waved his hand and said to someone, "Go back to the city and activate the shield." Whoosh, that person ran away at once. Soon, a dark shield was activated in the city, covering up the entire city. There were many warriors on the city wall checking, but none could do so now. Luli could not use psychic power to see what was going on in the city. Smart. Is the young city lord suspicious of my identity? Luli was confused. Why did the young city lord ask for his name? Then, he asked someone to activate the shield. There were two reasons for this. First, if Luli won, he would have to crack the shield if he wanted to kill everyone in the city. Second, the young city lord could activate the shield so that people in the city could not see the fight outside. In this way, Luli could keep his identity a secret. In this way, Luli would not have to kill everyone in the city just to keep his identity a secret. The young city lord seemed to have thought of everything for Luli. Therefore, Luli suspected that the young city lord was suspicious of his identity, or else, he would not have made such an arrangement. The young city lord unsheathed his sword and said, "Then there is no other way. You cannot die in vain. The dignity of the Wang family of the Crescent City cannot be trampled on. Charge! Charge!" More than 1,000 warriors dashed toward Luli from 3 directions. The two super mighty warriors of the divinity made their moves as well. Their family patriarch was not here. They must carry out the young city lord's order. Today they must fight to the death. Now that the fight had begun, Luli had no reason to avoid it. But how to kill these warriors was difficult. It was better not to expose his identity as much as possible. Otherwise, he would be in big trouble later. Buzzing, Luli waved his hands. Spatial force was released. Then, he and the spear became one. The spear stabbed forward like a poisonous dragon. The direction of the spear was strange. The spear made 2 turns in the air. It was as if the spear was slithering around like a poisonous snake. But after the 2 turns, the speed of the spear became more and more horrifying. The force and might in heaven and earth became more horrifying. One of the super mighty warriors of the divinity could not move at all. He could only watch as the spear head was getting closer and closer. Bang! The spear stabbed into the super mighty warrior's chest. Then, the warrior's body exploded. The spear moved forward with unstoppable force. It made 2 turns in the air, and stabbed at another super mighty warrior of the divinity. Bang! With another noise, the other super mighty warrior of the divinity exploded. He could not even survive one move. The 2 super mighty warriors of the divinity were like 2 clay bodhisattvas. One touch was enough to shatter them. Just as I thought, the young master put on a bitter smile. He did have doubts about Lu Li's identity. When he was holding Madame Fish's body, he checked and found that Madame Fish's head was empty. What was more, Lu Li was so young. He could be so calm when facing 2 super mighty warriors of the divinity. That kind of confidence and arrogance could not be faked. This kind of temperament of looking down on the masses was something that could only be formed by killing many experts. Chapter 1607. The Sea of Demons was the most concerned about the divinity. They could not help it. Many people here could not survive in the divinity. They had too many enemies, and many of them were from super forces. If something happened there and the army of powerful warriors was mobilized, they would not even have a chance to escape. Therefore, they knew Lu Li's situation very well. The young master had analyzed that if Lu Li did not go to the land of Yuyan to hide, he would probably come to the Sea of Demons. The young master's eyes flickered. Suddenly, he shouted with all his strength, "Lord, stop!" When Lu Li attacked, the force in heaven and earth was disturbed. That was why the young master could shout. Otherwise, he could not move or open his mouth, let alone shout. Lu Li felt no pressure after he killed the 2 super mighty warriors in the divinity. He did not continue. He stood on the spot and looked at the young master coldly, saying nothing. Lu Li waved his hand. The force in heaven and earth dissipated. Everyone could move, but none of the warriors dared to move. He had killed 2 super mighty warriors in the divinity in 2 moves. What was the point of moving? Just now, that terrifying power had suppressed everyone, and everyone felt suffocated. How could they fight this battle? "Lord, I want to talk to you." The young master cupped his fists to Lu Li. "Then," he said, "if you are afraid of leaking information, you can kill all the others." Lu Li put on a meaningful smile. He waved his hand and released Space Twist. Warriors around him were minced into pieces. Not even the several mighty warriors from the divinity could survive. In the time for a dozen breaths, more than 1,000 warriors were killed. The young master was the only one left alive. The young master did not do anything. He stood there quietly. When Lu Li was done, he said again, "There are 6 sentries on the left and right sides." Whoosh! Lu Li threw the young master a look and flew out. He found the sentries and killed them all. His psychic power was locked on the young master. How come the young master did not run away? The smile on Lu Li's face grew wider. He walked over and said, "Why don't you run?" The young master forced a smile and said, "Where can I go? Can I run away at my speed? If they escaped into the city, everyone in the city would die, wouldn't they? Lord Lu." Lu Li was not surprised that the young master knew who Lu Li was. He said coldly, "Then what do you want to talk about? What better way to keep a secret than a dead man? Also, I killed your wife, don't you hate me?" "I don't hate you. Instead, I want to thank you." The young city lord's face revealed a trace of mockery as he said, "You is the Lu family's eldest daughter. We don't have any feelings for each other. Instead, I'm very disgusted with her character. If you help me kill her, I will be able to answer to the Lu family. There's another way." You can keep a secret like a dead person. The young city lord's face revealed a trace of determination as he said, I can become Sir Lu's sole slave, but I hope that when Sir leaves the demonic sea region, you will return my freedom. Also, don't tell anyone about this. I can guarantee that your identity will not be leaked. Luli found it interesting. This young master was really something. He could adapt to circumstances and endure humiliation for the greater good. How could he ask to be Luli's sole slave to keep the secret for Luli? Luli thought about it. Then he shook his head and said, Can you keep this under control? You are the young city lord. What about the city lord? Don't worry. The young city lord patted his chest and said, I am the only son of my father. If anything happens to you, I will die for sure. Actually, if I die, the situation will be out of control. By then, my father will ask the island owner for help. Of course. Sir Lu, if you can kill Patriarch Chi, you can kill the island owner as well. But if things get out of hand, you will not be able to hide your identity, right? Luli was in a dilemma. His original plan was to kill all of them and then find another place to cultivate. If he didn't kill the young city lord and took him in as a sole slave, was he sure that he could keep the situation under control and that his identity would not be leaked? But on second thought, it seemed that everyone who saw him in action was here. Apart from the young city lord, they were all killed. If the young city lord could give a reasonable explanation, the people in the city wouldn't have any doubts. Luli thought for a while and said, How will you explain to the people in the city about the death of the 2 super mighty warriors and the thousands of warriors? That is easy. I have thought about it. The young city lord said, Previously, there was a ruthless man at the Sea of Demons, a madman called the Elder of Yenshan. He killed many people at the Sea of Demons and he even killed super mighty warriors in the divinity. I can say that he killed them and I will ask my father to give the order to hunt him down. Nobody will suspect anything. Okay, Luli thought it was reasonable. He waved his hand and said, Okay, I promise you. When I leave the Sea of Demons, I will give you back your freedom. As long as I am alive, I promise you that you can live. Thank you, Lord Lu. The young city lord was overjoyed. A ray of golden light came out from his head, and a small seal flew into Lu Li's mind. The young city lord became Lu Li's sole slave. Greetings, master. After the spiritual connection was established, the young city lord was about to kneel and salute. Lu Li waved his hand and said, No need for such formalities. Go back. I am leaving. I will have someone contact you later. I will bring this jade talisman to you. Lu Li threw a jade talisman to young city lord Wang Ta and left. Wang Ta bowed respectfully as he watched Lu Li go. Only when Lu Li was gone did Wang Ta wipe the cold sweat from his forehead. Lu Yuer, I was almost killed because of you. Wang Ta murmured to himself. Looking at the corpses all over the ground, he made up his mind. He picked up a sword next to him and stabbed himself in the chest. Then, he rushed into the city. He slammed his palm on the city's barrier. The barrier shone brightly and then disappeared. Countless soldiers on the city walls immediately scanned the area with their spiritual will. Young city lord. When they saw the corpses outside and Wang Ta at the foot of the city wall covered in blood, many warriors rushed down and surrounded Wang Ta. He ran to the west. Go after him and keep an eye on him. Also, inform the young city lord. Tell him that it is the Elder of Yenshan. Wang Ta said with great difficulty. Dozens of soldiers immediately rushed towards the west. The rest of the soldiers immediately brought Wang Ta in. The city also activated the barrier of the restriction formation. Lu Li didn't go far. He used the cloaking armor to hide nearby. He was relieved to see this. No! Chapter 1608. Lu Li's enemies were too strong. They were from the four forces. Once his identity was exposed, the most powerful warriors of the four forces would be sent out. Luli had killed Patriarch Chi, a supreme warrior from the divinity. That being said, Luli was not strong enough to deal with the real powerful warriors. Patriarch Kwang and Patriarch Bao could kill Luli even if there were 100 Luli, let alone the master of the craftsman's sect. Therefore, Luli had to be careful. What if Wang Ta's father wanted to kill Luli even at the cost of his son's life? Wang Ta's father would send someone to inform the four forces. If some powerful warriors from the four forces sneaked into the Heavenly Star Island, the consequences would be unimaginable. Luli waited outside quietly. A day later, the city shield was activated. Luli used the cloaking armor to sneak into the city and then sneak into the city master's mansion. The Wang family had 4 super mighty warriors from the divinity. Luli killed 2 of them. The other 2 came back as well. They were in Wang Ta's castle. Wang Ta stabbed himself several times. After a day of treatment, he was much better. Luli checked his energy. He did not use psychic power to check. He sneaked into Wang Ta's castle. What? The super mighty warriors in the divinity could see through the cloaking armor. The 2 super mighty warriors in the divinity noticed Luli's presence as soon as he came in. One of them was a middle-aged man in a luxurious robe. He was intimidating and his age could not be told. The other one was a white-haired old man. His eyes were as cold as a viper's. Luli swaggered in. The 2 of them were on guard out of instinct. They took out their relic weapons and put on their armors as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Luli made them feel threatened. Wang Ta felt it as well. It was not that he could see through Luli's cloaking. It was because he had a spiritual connection with Luli. Wang Ta's expressions changed. Then, he sighed and said, "Father, Grandpa 6, don't do anything. Otherwise, the Wang family will be doomed." "He is." "Luli." "Luli?" The middle-aged man and the white-haired old man's eyes glowed. It was so bright that it was frightening. Luli's name was dazzling. He was the talk of the entire divinity, including the sea of demons. "It's not Elder of Yen Mountain, but Luli?" The middle-aged man glanced at Wang Tuo. The latter nodded slightly and said, "I was able to survive because I submitted to Lord Lu. He promised me freedom after leaving the sea of demons." "What?" The middle-aged man's face darkened as a feeling of helplessness surfaced in his heart. Luli, on the other hand, swaggered in. He activated the inhibition formation of the castle as if he were in his own home. He walked to the seat of honor and sat down. He poured tea for them, took a sip and said, "I am Luli. I came without reason. Please forgive me." Wang Tuo's father and the other old warrior didn't move. Luli's name was too well known. He was known as the most powerful warrior in the divinity, and he could defeat all the super mighty warriors. Just as Wang Ta had said, if the 2 of them dared to make a move, the Wang clan would disappear from this world after today. Hoo. Wang Ta's father took a few deep breaths to suppress his anger and grievance. He said coldly, "Luli, we have no quarrel with each other. Why are you targeting the Wang family?" "You are mistaken." Luli waved his hand and said, "I am not targeting you. As a matter of fact, I have been here for half a year and I have never thought about taking over the Crescent City or even the Stars and Moons Island. My wife and I are just here to have some fun. Your young Madam Yu is too domineering. That is why there is a conflict. You all know that my identity cannot be revealed. Therefore, those who have seen me in action are all dead. Your son is alive because he submitted to me," Luli said in a lazy tone and went back to drinking tea. The 2 super mighty warriors in the divinity were eyeing him with hostility, but he ignored them as if he was not afraid of their attacks. The more Luli behaved like this, the less the 2 dared to act rashly. Luli lived up to his reputation. He had been hunted by the craftsman's sect for such a long time and he was still safe and sound. Not long ago, He did something great by killing a supreme warrior of the spacetime office. Lu, you idiot. The mayor swore coldly. Then he thought about it and his expressions became more and more awful. It was because Luli had said that he killed so many people because they knew his identity. Wang Ta was still alive because he had become Lu Li's sole slave. That was to say, both of them knew who Lu Li was. If they didn't want to die, then there was only one outcome: to be controlled by Lu Li and become his sole slave. Powerful warriors had dignity and pride. Who could tell if Lu Li would keep his promise? Who could tell how long Lu Li would stay at the Sea of Demons? What if he was going to stay here for the rest of his life? Then, they would be Lu Li's sole slaves until the day they died. If it were not for the large Wang family, his only son and his grandchildren, the Castellan would have fought with Lu Li with all his might. He would rather die than be a slave. After a while, he made up his mind and said, "Lu Li, what do you want here? Aren't you asking while knowing the answer?" Lu Li raised his eyebrows and said, "I don't trust you too. I want to stay at the Sea of Demons for some time. I don't want my identity to be leaked. That is why I am here." "For some time?" The mayor frowned and asked, "How long is this for some time? Can you swear an almighty oath?" "Do you think such an oath will work?" Lu Li asked back. "Even if I do, I can send you to attack the island owner of Stars and Moon's Island. You will still die." "I, Lu Li, am not a good man. But I am not a treacherous person in the divinity. I have declared war against Craftsman's sect and Spacetime Office. Do you think I will covet your Crescent City? As for the time, I can tell you that I will leave in 100 years and set you free." 100 years. The mayor and the white-haired old man looked at each other. They could accept the time. For them, 100 years was not a long time. The mayor thought back to the information about Lu Li. Even though Lu Li was known as a killer, he was a man of friendship. Also, given Lu Li's status and reputation, it was pointless for him to plot against a small crescent city. If he wanted to attack, he could take down the entire Stars and Moon's Island as long as he planned it well. That being said, the two powerful warriors could not accept becoming someone else's sole slave. Therefore, they were in a state of confusion. Their faces showed that they had to make a difficult decision. "I have a condition." The mayor thought about it and made up his mind. He made up his mind and said, "Lord Lu, can you help me kill the family patriarch of the Lu family and another super mighty warrior of the Lu family? Lord Lu has killed two powerful warriors of our family. The Lu family is strong enough to threaten us." "That is easy." Lu Li shrugged. Even if he didn't agree to Wang Tuo's father's request, he would find a way to control the family patriarch of the Lu family. Now that Wang Tuo's father had made this request, Lu Li could solve it once and for all. For Lu Li, killing several super mighty warriors in the divinity was no different from slaughtering livestock. It was too easy. P.S. I'm stuck. 1 chapter today, 5 chapters tomorrow. Chapter 1609. Lu Li did not take them as his sole slaves. Instead, he made them Wang Ta's sole slaves. Controlling Wang Ta was equivalent to controlling the two. Without Lu Li's order, how could Wang Ta return their soul seals? Lu Li left for the outside of the city after a moment of discussion with the two. It was not difficult to kill two super mighty warriors in the divinity. But Lu Li didn't want to make any noise. He didn't want anyone to notice. After all, the move that made him famous was too obvious. Someone would recognize it immediately. He went to a valley 300 miles away according to the appointed location. Then, he did nothing but wait for the Lu family warriors to come. Half a day later, there came a noise from the distance. Lu Li suddenly opened his eyes. The cloaking armor appeared and he vanished on the spot. 4 people came over as fast as lightning. Lu Li didn't check with psychic power. He was just sensing the ripples in space. Lu grinned. Clearly, the four were super mighty warriors in the Crescent City. The city owner had lured the two powerful warriors of the Lu family here. 4 psychic powers locked onto Lu. A brown-haired old man checked Lu with psychic power. He was confused because the city owner said that he had found the elder of Yen Shan. The brown-haired old man was doubtful. Lu was too young. He looked like the elder of Yen Shan, a powerful warrior who had made his name 1,000 years ago. But the city owner and the Wang family warriors had already flown over. They took out their weapons and were ready to attack Lu. The brown-haired old man and the other powerful warrior had to go with them. Something is wrong. When they rushed into the valley, the brown-haired old man's expressions changed. He noticed something. Lu hadn't done anything yet. What was more, the lord of the city and the powerful warriors of the Wang family didn't attack even though they had rushed into the valley. Instead, they looked back. The brown-haired old man stopped on the spot. The other powerful warrior stopped as well. They looked at the city owner and Lu with alertness. Buzzing, Lu opened his eyes at that moment. His eyes were like a sharp sword drawn from its sheath. The brown-haired old man was frightened by the sharpness in his eyes. Hoi! Lu clapped his hands. A surge of energy came down. At the same time, a saber appeared in Lu's hand. He leaped up like a ferocious tiger and hacked down with the saber. Hiss! A blade of light lit up in the sky. It tore through the void and slashed down at lightning speed. The blade of light contained the power to topple mountains and overturn seas, causing the two of them to be unable to breathe. Moreover, the two of them sensed a fatal danger from the depths of their souls. The feeling this move gave them was similar to the killing move of the island master of Starry and Crescent Island. Hiss! The saber light twisted twice in the air, and the power of heaven and earth became even more terrifying. The brown-haired old man revealed a look of despair. Because he tried, his body couldn't move at all. He could only watch as the saber light slashed down. Turn around? Was this the Demon King Slash? He is not the elder of Yen Shan. He is Lu. At this moment, the brown-haired old man suddenly realized something. He shouted with all his might, "Lord Lu, don't kill me. We can talk about anything." Lu didn't stop because there was no point in talking. He didn't want anything, and he didn't want any more soul slaves. Moreover, he had promised Wang Tuo's father. In addition, Lu Yuer had made him hate the Lu clan, so he wanted to kill them. Bang! With a muffled sound, the brown-haired old man turned into a mist of blood. His supreme relic armor was shattered, and his flesh and blood were flying around. Impressive! Wang Tuo's father and the other powerful warriors of the Wang family were shocked. Lu was known as the most powerful warrior below the supreme warriors in the divinity. He lived up to his reputation. No mighty warrior in the divinity could survive this move. But on second thought, this was the cut of Ghost King, the move that made Ghost King famous. Ghost King was once one of the 9 immortal kings of the Yuyan land. He was a well-known powerful warrior at the Yuyan land. His abilities were not weaker than those of the craftsman's sect. If a supreme warrior in the divinity were to release the most powerful move of Ghost King, the average one could be killed easily. Lu's realm was not as high, but it was a piece of cake for him to kill a super mighty warrior in the divinity. Fight! The other powerful warrior of the Lu family took advantage of the fact that he could move while the force of heaven and earth was in a mess. He didn't beg for mercy or surrender. His family patriarch had been killed. The Lu family was doomed. Lu wouldn't even spare him a glance even if he knelt to death. He might as well fight. The city lord had already made his move. His body flashed like a ghost and appeared behind the man. He suddenly slammed his palm on the man's back and sent him flying. What happened next was simple. Lu released the force of heaven and earth and then killed the super mighty warrior of the Lu family. Whoosh, Luli left after he was done. He left a message: send someone to seal off the information. If my identity is leaked, then it will be the day you two and Wang Tua die. Send someone to the divinity to keep an eye on things. I don't care about the process, only the result. I just want to live here in peace for a while. When powerful warriors come from the divinity, the Wang family will be doomed. Yes, my lord. The city lord and the other person bowed and accepted the order. Then, the two of them quickly circled the area and found more than 10 people nearby. Without asking any questions, they began to kill. Just now, Lu Li's attack was so powerful that all warriors within a radius of 30 miles should have seen it. Lu Li's ray of sword light twisted twice in the air. Such a strange pattern of attack would make people think that it was the ghost slash and that it was Lu Li. Therefore, the city lord would rather kill the wrong person than let him go. Lu Li had said that if his identity was exposed, then the Wang family would be doomed. They went around in an area with a radius of hundreds of miles and found more than 10 people. Those people were far away and might not be able to see them. However, the two still killed them without asking any questions. Making sure that there was no one nearby, the two returned to the city. Back in the city lord gave an order to track down the elder of Yanshan. Anyone who found traces of the elder of Yanshan would be rewarded with 1 million divine sources. Rumors spread out in the city lord's mansion that the city lord and the Lu family patriarch each brought a super mighty warrior from the divinity to hunt down the elder of Yanshan. As a result, 2 powerful warriors of the Lu family were killed by the elder of Yanshan. The city lord had teleported to the Star and Crescent City to ask the island owner to kill the elder of Yanshan and avenge the deceased. The elder of Yanshan was famous. It was said that he was cruel and merciless, and his abilities were exceptional. When the news spread out, nobody doubted it. However, many people were afraid to leave the city. What if they were killed by the elder of Yanshan? Several days later, news came from the Star and Crescent City. The island owner was furious and gave an order for the entire Star and Crescent Island to hunt down the elder of Yanshan. Idiot! Lu Li had already returned to the Star Island. When he heard the news, he cursed. Tian Tuo's father's action was superfluous. If the elder of Yanshan were to learn about this, he would be enraged and come to the Crescent City. Never mind. What was done could not be undone. It was pointless to overthink. If the elder of Yanshan showed up, Lu Li would have to end his life in person. Chapter 1610. Lu Li went back to Heavenly Star Island. He built a teleportation formation that connected to Wang Ta's castle. Only Wang Ta could use this teleportation formation. If the teleportation formation was used by super mighty warriors in the divinity, it would explode. Wang Ta would send messages every now and then. Lu Li knew the Crescent City like the back of his hand. The Wang family was reliable for the sake of their family. Not only did they send out spies to gather information, but they also sent scouts to the divinity. Along the way, they sent people to all the islands. If anything happened in the divinity, the Wang family would be informed. Lu Li was relieved. He didn't use any means in the city. He only killed Madame Yu. Not many people knew about it. Everyone who saw this scene was killed, including the shopkeeper. Later, when Wang Ta brought people to fight Lu Li, he activated the shield. Nobody in the city knew. Wang family's spies were in the city. Everyone was talking about the old man of Yen Mountain. No one said Lu Li did it. Lu Li waited for several days to make sure everything was fine. Then, he went back to cultivation. Qi Shir felt guilty. She didn't go out anymore. She sat next to Lu Li. Right, Shir, take the thunder armor. After some thoughts, Lu Li disconnected the spiritual connection with the thunder armor and gave it to Qi Shir. Killing Patriarch Qi gave Lu Li a holy grade armor. The thunder armor didn't mean much to him anymore. he could give it to Qi Shi. The Wrath of Thunder could be given to Qi Shi for protection. It would be safer. There were several Wrath of Thunder left. It could only kill super mighty warriors in the divinity. For Luli, it didn't mean much. Qi Shi was going to say no, but she accepted after Luli said he was going to consume the holy grade armor. Luli didn't give it to Qi Shi. If he died, Qi Shi would die as well. The holy grade armor would be more useful to him. While cultivating, he consumed the armor and nourished his soul. After becoming a super mighty warrior in the divinity, cultivation slowed down. Not to mention the fundamental principle of formations, even divine energy and soul would take hundreds or thousands of years. Moreover, it was said that to become a supreme warrior in the divinity, one had to go through heaven's tribulation. Luli didn't even know what heaven's tribulation was. It was too early to say. Luli wondered if he should cultivate for a while in the black hole of space and time. Time flowed very slowly there. 10,000 years of cultivation inside was equivalent to 1 year in the outside world. If he went in and cultivated for tens of thousands of years, only a few years would have passed in the outside world. When he came out, he might already be undergoing his heavenly tribulation. But Luli was worried about Qi Shi. If he took her with him, she would have to endure 10,000 years of loneliness. If I don't bring him along, what if something dangerous happens here? Also, 10,000 years was too long for Luli. Half a year passed in peace. Everything was fine at the Crescent City. Luli could put his mind at ease. He didn't care about anything else. Apart from going around the island with Qi Shi once in a while, he spent the rest of his time cultivating. There was one thing that surprised Luli. Qi Shi often had sex with him, but Qi Shi's stomach never moved. Back when he was in the mortal world, he had encountered this problem. He thought that after attaining the god physique, there would be changes. However, it was still the same as before. What exactly went wrong? Could it be that he was born unable to impregnate women? Or was there a special reason? Luli did not know, nor did he know who to ask. He regretted that when he was in the Green Valley, he should have asked the Verdant Valley hermit. Another month had passed, and Luli's peaceful life had been disrupted. Wang Tuo came with a piece of news. The elder of Yenshan was outside the Stars and Crescent Island and killed several scouts of the Wang family. He said that he was going to attack the Stars and Crescent City and kill the Lord of Stars and Crescent Island. What Luli was worried about had happened. The elder of Yenshan was wronged for no reason. Naturally, he wanted revenge. The elder of Yenshan was a tough guy. It was fine that he didn't offend others, but someone wanted him to be the scapegoat? Attacking the Stars and Crescent City should be fake. No matter how strong the elder of Yenshan was, he was just a super mighty warrior in the divinity. To attack a supreme warrior in the divinity, he would be tired of living. Therefore, the elder of Yenshan must be creating a diversion. Wang Tuo and his father Wang Shun must have seen through this. But the elder of Yenshan's plan was good. The Lord of Stars and Crescent Island was afraid that the elder of Yenshan would attack the Stars and Crescent City, so he didn't dare to leave the city. If the elder of Yenshan could break the shield of the Crescent City in a short time, then there was still a chance to destroy the Wang family. The Wang family had 2 super mighty warriors in the divinity, but the elder of Yenshan could kill many of them 1,000 years ago. Wang Shun was not sure, so he asked Wang Tuo to ask Luli for help. After the time for 1 incense stick to burn, Luli agreed to Wang Tuo's request. He took Qi Shi out of the Star Island and went to the Crescent City. Luli didn't want others to see him fight. The shield of the Crescent City was up. Luli just had to wait outside the city. If nothing went wrong, the elder of Yenshan would show up. 30 miles to the northeast of the Crescent City was a mountain. It was a spirit mountain, a property of the Wang family. Luli had asked Wang Tuo to gather the people here back to the city. At the same time, he asked all the scouts to go back. He could not let anyone see his move or the news might spread to the divinity. Therefore, Luli asked Wang Tuo to clear the area so that he could fight the Elder of Yen Shan freely. It was said that the Elder of Yen Shan was the most powerful warrior after the Lord of Stars and Crescent Island. He was very powerful. Luli was looking forward to it. Fighting with a powerful warrior was a good chance to improve his abilities. "Brother, what are we doing here?" Qi Shir walked around the area and asked. Luli held her in his arms and pointed to the city down below. "Later, a powerful warrior will come to attack the Crescent City. I will kill him for the Crescent City." "For the Crescent City?" Qi Shir was a little confused and asked. "Didn't you fight with the people from Crescent City last time? Why are you helping them?" "Ha ha, silly girl." Luli stroked Qi Shir's hair affectionately. "Their city master is under my control. This city is actually ours. Tell me, if someone wants to attack our city, can we just sit back and do nothing?" "Our city?" Qi Shir's eyes curved into crescents. She nodded. "Of course. No one can attack our city. In the land of Yuyan, there were only 9 cities. Only immortal kings could live in them. When Qi Shir was little, she wanted to go to the Pan-King city, but she couldn't. Now, she had a city? This gave Qi Shir a sense of achievement. "You are so happy to have a city like this?" Luli smiled. Looking at his woman's satisfied expression, he was filled with pride. Pointing to the sky, he said, "Shir, just you wait. One day, you will conquer the divinity. By then, you will be the master of the world." Chapter 16:11. Wang Shun and Wang Tuo were right. On the 3rd day, the Elder of Yen Shan showed up. His target was the Crescent City. The Elder of Yen Shan was good at stealth. If it were not for the fact that Luli was sensitive to space, he wouldn't have noticed. From the east, a man sneaked over like a cat. He was almost sticking to the mountain. Every time he moved, he would disappear in a blink of an eye. Luli could no longer find him. This man must have some special skill that could merge with heaven and earth. As long as he didn't move, Luli wouldn't be able to see him. The Elder of Yen Shan had killed many people in the Sea of Demons and offended many forces. The fact that he was still alive was proof of many things. Not to mention this person's battle prowess, his ability to escape was definitely top-notch. The Elder of Yen Shan sneaked over. He was careful. He didn't approach the Crescent City in a hurry. Instead, he circled around the city to check. When he was close to the mountain, Luli put Qi Shir in. Luli used the cloaking armor himself. He knew the Elder of Yen Shan could see through him, but it didn't matter. But it did not matter. What he needed was for old man Yen Shan to get close to him. That way, he could kill him with a single strike. At the same time, Luli released the worms of the void secretly to hide underground. Also, 3 hills appeared around him. They were placed on the ground. They looked like 3 pebbles, not eye-catching at all. Luli could not afford to be careless when dealing with a powerful warrior that had been famous for a long time. Otherwise, he would die a miserable death. Every famous warrior had something unique and powerful. Underestimating the enemy was tantamount to courting death. At the foot of the mountain, the Elder of Yen Shan found Luli. He was invisible, sitting in a cave with his legs crossed. It seemed that he was cultivating. But this mountain was the territory of the Wang family of the Crescent City. There was no warrior on the mountain. Was Luli the only one cultivating? Anyone would be suspicious of this. The Elder of Yen Shan hid at the foot of the mountain for the time for half an incense stick to burn. If he didn't move, Luli wouldn't either. The Elder of Yen Shan's purpose was to attack the city. Luli had seen the shield. It was not strong, but it could withstand several attacks from the Elder of Yen Shan. Therefore, if the Elder of Yen Shan went to attack the city instead of Luli, Luli would have enough time to attack him. Of course, the best result was that the Elder of Yen Shan would sneak up on Luli. Once the Elder of Yen Shan was close, Luli was 70% sure that he could kill the Elder of Yen Shan. It moved. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, Elder Yen Shan moved. He went up the mountain silently like a leopard. His art of stealth was impressive. Every time he stayed still, he would blend in with heaven and earth. Luli could not sense him at all. Every time, the Elder of Yen Shan would travel more than 100 feet without making any sound. If it were not for the fact that Luli was sensitive to space, he would not have sensed it. Luli sat in the cave with his legs crossed, motionless. There was no fluctuation in his qi and energy. He looked like an old monk in meditation. Soon, Elder Yen Shan went up the mountain. Once he reached the peak, he stopped moving. He was very patient, like a 1,000-year-old fox. He would probably only attack Luli after he was sure that it was safe enough. Luli was more patient because he could control the situation at all times. As soon as the Elder of Yen Mountain made a move, he would know immediately. He could use the power of space to suppress him at any time. Even if he could not completely suppress Old Man of Yen Mountain, it would not be a problem for him to slow him down. This time, the Elder of Yen Shan waited for more than an hour. Making sure that Luli was not going to do anything, he made his move. He leaped up like a mad dragon. With a halberd in his hand, he dashed toward Luli. When the Elder of Yen Shan was thousands of feet away from him, Luli snorted and waved his hand. Force in heaven and earth came down. Luli leaped up as well. As soon as Luli leaped up, he realized something was wrong. The figure in midair was collapsing bit by bit. Soon, it turned into pieces. That is an illusion. A glint of coldness rose in Luli's eyes. He used his psychic power to check the surroundings. However, he found nothing after one round of inspection. Whoosh! All of a sudden, there was a slight fluctuation in space. A ray of cold glare came out from a tree in the distance. Then, the ray of cold glare exploded like the sun. Billions of cold glare shot toward Luli like sharp swords. Yachi! Luli yelled. The mountain next to him grew to a size of more than 10 feet and stood in front of him. Bang, bang, bang! Many rays of cold glare were blocked. But the rest of the rays of cold glare were coming at Luli from different directions. Ya-ao, Yachi! Luli yelled. The other 2 mountains grew to a size of more than 10 feet. The 3 mountains flew around Luli quickly, blocking all the rays of cold glare. Hoi! When the rays of cold glare disappeared, Luli took out the demon slayer and hacked at a figure under the tree. A shocking ray of sword light appeared. It made 2 turns in midair and then hacked at the dark figure under the tree. No, it is an illusion again. Luli noticed that before the ray of sword light reached its target, the dark figure was collapsing bit by bit. Luli understood at once that this was an illusion. The real person had already fled. Boom! The ray of sword light landed. The entire mountain trembled. One side of the mountain suddenly slid down. The ray of sword light split open a small part of the mountain. Naturally, the mountain slid down. Boom, 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 dust was flying up. Rocks rolled down. Smoke rose up. Loud noises lingered on. Luli ignored the mountain and didn't use psychic power to check. Instead, he tried to sense the fluctuations in space around him. Whoosh! A boulder on the left suddenly exploded. Following that, a dot of cold glare appeared. The dot of light grew into billions of cold glare that came toward Luli from all sides. Luli paid no attention to the cold glare. He noticed a dark figure at once. He did not attack that dark figure. Instead, he was trying to sense the fluctuations in space. Impressive! At that moment, Luli sensed a slight fluctuation in space. Because of the cold glare, space was trembling as well. The cold glare was glaring. People would be attracted by it out of instinct. Average warriors would not notice it. This was one of the most powerful skills Luli had ever seen. Usually, mighty warriors in the divinity would not even know how they died. Luli controlled the two mountains to fly around him quickly to block off all the cold glare. Then, he controlled the other green mountain to whooshing forward. As it flew, it rapidly grew in size and fiercely suppressed the enemy ahead of it. Buzzing, tens of thousands of cold glare flew up and smashed at the green mountain. Space trembled violently. A dark figure dashed out like a sharp sword and dashed down the mountain to the distance. You want to run? Luli pulled a long face. He crushed a jade talisman in his hand. At the same time, he flew up to a mountain. The mountain chased after the dark figure like a shooting star. Buzzing, the shield in the crescent city glowed. Wang Shun, the city master, flew out at the top of his speed toward where Luli went. Luli crushed the jade talisman to indicate that they had agreed. He did not kill the elder of Yenshan, and he wanted Wang Shun to cooperate. Since the fight had begun, Luli would not allow the elder of Yenshan to run away. The elder of Yenshan must have seen through Luli's identity. Therefore, Luli must kill this man. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.